welcome to the GLP podcast. I'm your host, William. With me today, I have Ryan.
Hello.
And we're a little late. I was playing some custom games, but I won both of them, so it's...
Yeah, we are a little late.
Yeah, we're like an hour late, but I won both.
About an easy, about 2 hours?
No,
where we could have
1
started?
hour. Yeah.
2 hours.
But listen, they were two 40-minute custom games. What can I do? They were very evenly matched matchups. They actually were they were really fun. They were really close, both of them. Anyway.
More competitive series. Your custom matches or the playoffs this past weekend?
Oh, absolutely. My custom matches. They were actually a little bit close. Yeah, anyway, let's start off. Let's start off with some LCS Summer 2020. Let's get to the playoffs. All right, the first series that we had this week. Kind of forgot about it, you know? I know you didn't, but the first series was FlyQuest versus C9. And FlyQuest 3-0, or C9 3-0 FlyQuest, right? Like how we all predicted?
Hey, it was basically it was basically something I predicted on the podcast, to be fair. I said, depending on what Cloud9 we see, this could easily be a 3-0 series for Cloud9 or an 0-3 series for Cloud9. And this series was actually, despite the one game win that they got in Game 2, this could really have been a 0-3 for Cloud9.
Yeah.
There was, despite having 2 weeks having a full week from the regular season to prepare, and then another week afterwards to prepare specifically for FlyQuest. This is not it, fam. This was rough.
Yeah, it was quite brutal to be honest. Like, I mean, the first game I thought was pure genius. We won't go into match history for all the games, like, because we have some people that need to go to bed early, apparently. That's on me. But the first game I did absolutely want to talk about, where it looked like FlyQuest. I was blown away. I was so happy with them. I was at work, because starting playoff games at 4 p.m. Eastern time sucks. So I was at work and I'm like, okay, I'll just listen to it. But then I just wanted to see how like the early game kind of played out, and it was 4 p.m. so I'm basically done with work anyway at that point. But and then the early game for FlyQuest was insane. They started with a quick little invade here, right into this little bush by the wolves on blue side. They forced Blabber to take a spell shield, but they did lose a flash for it. So at the moment, it felt like, that's not really worth it too much for FlyQuest. However, FlyQuest had prepped much better than that. They come back around. They invade the Raptors because they know Blabber is going to be doing Raptors right now because he's not going to do the red buff without a leash or whatever. So he's doing Raptors. And then they stole it, but Blabber really didn't want that to be stolen. He kind of blabbered it, you know? And by doing that, by trying to go in, he tried to smite the big chicken. He lost the smite fight to Santorin. They end up getting first blood. So not only is your Nocturne, who, by the way, needs to get level 6 as quick as possible, but he needs to get level 6 and just be useful with those ganks. And unfortunately, he's already doesn't have a good clear with the spell shield start. He's lost his Raptors right away. So then he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to reset and go to blue. Santorin and FlyQuest, I don't know if it was Santorin or just the prep in general that FlyQuest made for this game 1 was so insane that they not only do they invade him on the Raptors, they go all the way back around, invade him on the blue, kill him again, and then take the blue. So Blabber's already 0-2, doesn't have flash, doesn't have spell shield, hasn't taken a camp yet, and it was just, oh man, it was amazing to see. Because basically at that point, Blabber's tilted out of his mind. Nocturne as a champion is kind of useless at this point. Yeah, like it was just genius. It won the game within the first 5 minutes. Because I thought C9's draft here was okay. I liked it. I didn't like the Vlad. I really did not like the Vlad top. But I thought the Nocturne TF, we've called for that before in the past, wanting Nocturne and TF on the same team because you just do the double ult and no one can see where you're going, basically. And not only that, on top of that, the Nocturne ult blocks out the Shen ult. Unfortunately, C9's game plan was to constantly camp top with those two instead of going bot lane. So it's really hard to gank a Vlad because he really can't provide anything early, even damage or no CC. He really doesn't have much damage early or any mobility. And then on top of that, it's also ganking Shen under tower, and Shen's one of the hardest champions in the game to gank.
Just to kind of go off the back of this, and again, this came down to just really good planning from FlyQuest, especially Santorin. They seemed really on the same page. They were basically just hovering with Santorin to just completely bully Blabber this entire game, and it ended up being a pretty indicative of how the entire series went for FlyQuest. They basically attacked Blabber heavily.
Yeah.
And one thing I will notice too, especially like around the blue buff, just 2 points on this, was there's actually a really cheeky ward. I want to say that was probably Solo that placed this, or it may have just been one that was left over, but there's actually a ward directly in front of the wall that was set directly in front of the area that's between Gromp and blue buff. So as soon as Blabber showed on blue, Santorin and the rest of FlyQuest immediately collapsed on him.
It was so good.
So and just listening to the C9 brain check that just came out earlier today, the entire team on C9 didn't even see this coming. They were literally calling, saying, do they think you think they may be on my blue? Oh no, they shouldn't be on my blue. And guess what? They were there.
Yeah.
So this is actually indicative. Yeah, this is literally I think this is actually also indicative of an issue with C9 this game. There's three, I would say, three prevalent issues. I mean, it's probably the most issues you could ever have going into a best of 5 series, and that was your draft strategy, your execution, and your preparation. This is literally, and this is indicative of an issue with their preparation, and it goes by with comments that Reaper actually made from the beginning of the series, saying that he believed that FlyQuest essentially were predictable, and they essentially required no special preparation from C9 in order for them to handle. And Sven, even like prior to the series, literally it said afterwards that they expected to just 3-0 stomp FlyQuest. That they would just be better than them, that they wouldn't have to do anything special, that they would be predictable, and they could just beat them no matter what. But so this just screamed absolute disrespect, and kudos to FlyQuest. This is them apparently not screaming C9 for the majority of the split.
Remember when we flamed them for that? It was 200 IQ.
Yeah, because apparently they were planning some spicy level 1s, and they did their damnedest to keep Blabber on the back foot for the entire game. This game, and especially we even talked about like in between series and even earlier, like off the podcast, was about the Lilia pick that came out. If you're talking about a kind of a really hit or miss champion that you talk about that can be have some issues, it can be really strong in the early game, but has a bit of mechanical or execution issues in the mid game with how you want to play her out, especially with how squishy she is. But level 1, early levels, she's such a bully, and against a Nocturne who really can't fight you level 1 and wants to farm. That's such a yeah. I know, and see, that's a horrible matchup because now Lilia could literally just run around and Nunu you and just annoy you and literally let you do nothing. And guess what? Lilia is just going to be naturally more useful with her utility, and Nocturne is going to be actually an anti-champ for your comp. So they were actually set behind for the majority of this. But the other issue is actually what came about with this level 1. Was Blabber basically opting for skirmishes early. Yeah. And it ended up being really indicative. Like, he was just set behind, he's useless, but the entire point of this comp is to get to a point of power, to get up to like your level 6 point, and look to make plays based around your ult timings. Mm-hmm. Both your ult timings and your enemy's ult timings, especially with an enemy Shen. Because you may have globals, but if you're trying to fight when your ults are not up and his ult is, it's useless.
Yeah, your globals are just supposed to counter his global. Like, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. They actually do manage to find, like, I know it was later on in the game, they managed to catch Lilia taking, I believe it was Scuttle Crab, in front of Rift Herald. And this is right after they went for, I believe it was a play top lane, where they actually burned Nocturne Ultimate. They were Nocturne Ultimate and Vlad Ultimate. But Niski still had TF, his Destiny Gate. So Blabber died. He's coming back onto the map. Has no ult. Vlad has push, so he could roam down to collapse. So Niski says. So Niski and Blabber essentially go for a play. I believe Blabber was actually the one that called for it because they saw Lilia at about half health. So TF ults in, but now they're ulting with a TF into Lilia. Mid lane still has push and can join, and then of course Shen has ultimate. So the whole point of what you mentioned earlier about having the Nocturne and TF combo combined with Nocturne being able to stop the Shen from ulting somebody, well, guess what? You didn't play around your cooldowns properly, and you didn't play around your enemies' cooldowns properly. So the Shen just got to join in for free. Lilia lasted forever, and they ended up giving away 2 more kills.
Yep. Yeah, and it was. I mean, it's the whole point of this team. Like you said, you play around your ultimates, and also Blabber is the only early game champion on this team comp as well. So he is the bridge to the late game for the team. So you just and FlyQuest just obliterate the bridge basically. Like
they burned the bridge.
Yeah,
and then everyone will see that drown.
Yeah, pretty much. Like Blabber is supposed to essentially. The whole point of this team comp with C9 have Blabber essentially power farm to level 6, try and make a play top, maybe try and make a play bot, make something happen with the globals, and then kind of just sit back and wait for TF, Yuumi, Vlad, Ezreal all to get the late game, and you're probably gonna win for the most part, as long as you're gonna win every team fight against the enemy team, which they do have good scaling as well, but I don't think it's as strong as having Vlad and Yuumi. Levels of healing is just so absurd on all ends, and just having the amount of CC with Yuumi and Twisted Fate on top of that as well.
I will say, to argue against that is, I believe TF is good in late game, but I feel like he becomes much more of like a side lane style champion.
That is true.
As opposed to like a hyper carry like the Azir. So it's not exactly a 1-to-1 comparison. I feel like the TF Nocturne itself is meant to be more so like the bridge as a duo.
Gotcha.
The idea of using this combo specifically as a bridge to snowball the hell out of a side lane. Think the TSM C9 series from the regular season, where it was ironically Azir versus TF, Niski and Bjergsen. But the difference was you had a Kennen into Aurelia matchup, and Bjergsen just literally made Kennen an anti-champion. Where he literally camped that lane on cooldown to the point where Kennen was completely and utterly useless.
To be fair, Kennen is an anti-champion and could never himself.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. A Kennen that could go even can at least contribute something to a fight. And he always has that turnaround potential with just the pure burst power on his ultimate. But Kennen, who has like no items, is basically a Vladimir in the early game.
Yep.
You exhaust him, and he dies. So, and this again, like I said, we talked about preparation. We talked about execution. Draft strategy is the issue here, and this draft, it's kind of been the tail of C9 for a bit now. In their drafts, in their pick ban, this is the best that they had. We were talking about wanting the TF Nocturne, especially for a team like Cloud9, where these look like the most Cloud9 champions.
Yep.
Like you talk about Niski on TF, the ultimate roaming champion besides maybe Galio.
Yeah.
You talk about Blabber Nocturne, he's had a lot of success on in the past on this champion. This is a Blabber champion, and they synergize really well with each other. Level 6 spike, hit a top lane, smash it. And with a Shen on the enemy team, oh man, perfect. Oh, his ult's available. Oh man, we can just attack that on cooldown. And then if we get a strong champion topside, we can just snowball this lane. And if you have a weak side lane like Ezreal Yuumi in this case, or even something like Ezreal Ezreal Rakan, whatever you want to say, but Ezreal Yuumi in this case, oh, that's fine. That means bot side can absorb pressure if it comes their way, and top side can be snowballed out of control. The problem is that you have essentially two completely incongruous parts of this draft, where you have a Vladimir Ezreal Yuumi, and Vladimir will push against Shen. Like you said, he can push against Shen, abuse the range matchup, etc. Kind of keep him under turret, out trade him a little bit, have that extra sustain, that's fine. But unless Shen is like literally ulting down into bot lanes, and the bot lane can just kind of hold the pressure off, and then Vlad can just sit there and just farm turret plates on his own, Vlad is never going to be like in a legitimate point of power where he's just going to be a deadly threat against Shen anytime soon in a side lane. And then on the other side, you also have Ezreal Yuumi, who will not have push in lane ever, unless the enemy team is actually trolling and just running it down. So now you're talking about a level 6 power spike for your mid jungle duo that's meant to snowball a side lane. You have a Vladimir in your top side against so you're trying to set up a dive against a Shen.
Impossible
with this combo, or you're trying to gank for an Ezreal Yuumi in the bot lane, which is, to be fair, can be fine if you're able to telegraph that setup. At level 6, the Ezreal Yuumi combo can also work pretty well as well. That's fair. But again, so it's winnable. It's winnable. But there's just so much agency that you're giving up. And I feel like that's become almost a nominative word for C9 as well. And it's something that I feel like they've been using a lot as well, especially from the bot lane, is in the early levels, you're giving up so much. We talked about the Lilia matchup into Nocturne, where she could just bully the hell out of him in the early jungle and make him useless and send him behind so early. Even if he doesn't fight, he's literally being forced off of all of his camps repeatedly.
Yep.
If he doesn't go in on his blue buff, he just lost blue buff for nothing, and still has no camps, even if he doesn't die. Like, what kind of you might as well just disconnect. You might as well just be a bot at that point, because you don't exist. You literally don't exist in the game.
That's what I was so happy from FlyQuest's side. I was so happy from it because it's like that flawless execution of the strategy. It just worked. Everything. Mm-hmm. It could not have gone better for them. Like they had a plan and it executed as amazing as possible. Yep.
And on top of that, this is, again, the support matchup where we talk about, oh, well, the Ezreal Yuumi, that can be doable. You're talking about like a level 6 power spike where if they're shoving you too hard under turret and they're way too far mid lane, oh, well, here comes TF, Nocturne, and Ezreal Yuumi dropping their ults on you at one time. Well, guess what's been happening for the entire early game up until this point, before you could even hit 6. You're talking about the enemy team stacking dragons, enemy support able to get out of lane repeatedly, litter the jungle with vision, and go with and roam with his jungler to harass and attack mid lane and attack the jungle, and be the first onto roams to Rift Herald. Like they are literally just able to snowball so many more objectives. And kudos to C9, because the fact that they were never really able to let the game go so out of control that they're like more than maybe 3 or 4K gold behind. Yeah, but that should never be a situation you're trying to fight back from as a TF Nocturne comp. Yeah, a comp with Azir. Yeah, I guess a comp with Azir in it, which is always going to be terrible. But it did come down to, I feel like Draft just had some really goofy issues that I feel like could have been set up. Like, even if you had something like a Braum, like Ezreal Braum, I feel like would have been better than Ezreal Yuumi. Especially because you're talking about, Yuumi's going to jump onto a Vladimir. Okay, that's fine. But what if you actually had a front line? What if you actually had a champion that can synergize well with Ezreal's kit? A champion that can actually get out of lane and maybe try to help Blabber. A champion that can actually, has a passive that, works with every other champion in the game besides maybe Vladimir. You're talking about a TF stun, a TF gold card, or a Nocturne going on somebody that has Braum passive on them, they're just getting chain stunned.
Instant dead.
Yeah, and then if Fly ever tried to go in on you, Braum actually has disengage, and he can always jump back to the Ezreal, who can bounce back as well. I feel like there's just little things in Draft that they keep missing that could have just been maybe just a little bit better and might have actually made the difference at several points in this game. Where it's like if Sven is sit there and he's just getting chased down and dies, they're not just getting 2 free kills for nothing. And that happened a lot because, spoiler alert for anyone who's not familiar with the series, the Ezreal Yuumi first pick, by the way, it did not go away.
Yeah.
It happened in every single game.
Yeah,
In
I mean,
4 games on both sides of the match.
we won't. I mean, we probably won't go into detail because into every
Yeah.
single match. But yeah, it was Ezreal Yumi, Ezreal Yumi, Ezreal Yumi, Ezreal Yumi. First pick, first pick, first pick. It was kind of
First, second, every
Yeah.
time in the same order too.
Yep, it's kind of crazy, really. Like, especially because you were letting up stuff like Shen, you let up Ash. It was almost like, it almost to me felt like C9 was scared to pick the Caitlyn, but that doesn't like because they were banning Caitlyn on blue side, which also doesn't make sense because if you ban Ash on blue side, the red side is going to use their last ban on Caitlyn every time. Like they are, no one is ever going to let Caitlyn through without at least having Ash as a counter. So look, Wild Turtle 6-0-9 on Ash. They won. C9 did win game 2, but it was a pretty big throw by FlyQuest, it felt like.
Yep.
But it was 4-3.
FlyQuest literally pushing into the base,
Yeah.
and C9 was able to actually chase them off and chase them down for like the turnaround.
Yep, it was all they took the Baron. They just
Yeah.
this was me. I was driving, listening. I was driving home from work, listening to this game. I get out of my car after FlyQuest gets this 4 for none and the Baron for nothing, for literally nothing, for 4 for 1. I leave. I get food. Like I had food from. I picked up food and then I like got it all ready. Sit down at my computer and I'm like, oh, the game ended. So I just assumed that FlyQuest must have won the next fight after that and won the game after that as well. I turn it back on and I see, oh, C9 win, and I was so confused. So confused about what had happened. I went back and watched and I saw, oh, they just instantly ran down to try and contest this Infernal and lost everything for it. And that wasn't good. But again, they banned Caitlyn.
It literally came down to like C9 was like pushing into the base for the win. They went a little too far, so they all started backing out. Then they started committing teleport on Shen to chase them out as 5. C9 just, and kudos to C9. They actually managed to kite out the engages repeatedly. They for once they actually played around ultimate cooldowns. Like as soon as Ash throws out an arrow to try to stun them, they block it and then immediately go in because that means all their engages down, and then just turn the fight immediately and just chase them. So kudos to C9 for that. Also a little bit antsy and just misplaying from FlyQuest. So you gotta take some good with the bad here. But again, like I said, sloppy as hell. Yep. And it's a win that you take, not a win that you're proud of.
Yep. And then we went right back to game 3 where then Cloud9 was on red side, so then they had to ban Caitlyn again because that's usually what red side does. And then you had Wild Turtle switch over to the Senna instead of the Ashe, even though Ashe was not banned. They had the Ashe. And then in this game, Shen this whole time is just going through, and I'm like, what are you doing, guys? He did go 0-5 in this game, to be fair, but he did his job with his 11 assists. But it's just like,
doesn't matter if he's 0-5 though.
Yeah,
that's the point.
He's Shen. He's so good right now, and that's why I actually really like Team Liquid chances at the moment, because we have Impact Shen. And Impact Shen is good when he's not in the meta, when he's the number 1 top laner. That's really good for me. But anyway, yeah, another Shen pick goes through, and then game number 4, again, they picked the Gangplank into Shen, which I like. I do think Gangplank and Shen are the 2 most blindable, absolute S+ tiered top laners at the moment, and Gangplank does win the matchup. However, it's not a hard win in my opinion. He wins as in Shen cannot kill him no matter what, because he's just going to eat his orange anytime Shen ever attempts to engage. However, like we just mentioned about him going 0-5, at the end of the day, a stalemate in top lane means it's still Shen late game and it's still Gangplank late game. That's why they're both S pluses. It doesn't matter. Neither of them are going to be set too far behind from the lane matchup. They're both going to be scaling insanely well.
And I will say as well, especially going into the GP matchup, 2 points on this one.
Oh,
Licorice's laning was oddly kind of lackluster in the Shen GP matchup. Like, I understand it becomes a bit more of a skill matchup as GP versus Shen, but I don't know. It just like compared to like what we've seen from like Licorice before, like where he like can legit lane kingdom and then he'll like die to a gank but still be up like almost 20 CS. Like this game, like he got counterpick with the GP. It didn't really do much with it, and then he wasn't even building like the whole like, oh, I'm going to carry with barrel chain style GP build where he goes like Triforce Eye Edge. Instead, he goes the more utility route with the ultimate, going Triforce Essence Reaver into Leandries, and he did this every game.
Yeah, I do like the Leandries though with the ultimate, because I think just
Yeah.
in a team fight the extra just burn damage because you're gonna hit 3 to 4
Yeah.
people with your ultimate pretty much every team fight for the most part in pro play. It's not gonna whiff, and so like that burn
Yeah.
damage on
And
that
and I
ultimate is
understand.
good.
Oh yeah, and I understand that, and he definitely has some like nice little poggers plays. Like he can actually turn around things. There, like he was mostly just it's mostly just nitpicky with it. Like it's almost like, oh well, he could have played it better, but it's like he still was serviceable. And
Mhm.
but I feel like if you're a Gangplank and the rest of your team is Lee Sin, Zoe, Ezreal, I feel like at some point the onus is on you to carry the game as a Gangplank in this scenario. It's not even like, oh well, we have a Caitlyn, like we have Caitlyn Azir, and then we have a Gangplank.
Yeah,
It's like Gangplank can just, well, that's the game where you drop a Leandries on somebody, Leandries ultimate on somebody, and let Kate and Azir just smack people in the face.
so
So
you wanted the game
again,
to have more.
nitpicky.
Yeah, but,
I would have rather seen like, because the ultimate is always going to have utility. The
Yeah.
ultimate is always going to be a massive AOE zone of like deep of a dot and slow over time. And so it's not going to be that so it's always going to be useful. But I feel like the whole point of that in this sort of game is setup. Because you want to pick, you're playing Ezreal Zoe. If you like, that's basically poke. So where I don't want to see, I would rather have seen an Eye Edge, Triforce Eye Edge, for just barrel chain to go with the poke.
okay.
That way, and that gives you more. Like you could talk about, like, imagine like a Zoe bubble into a barrel, into like the easiest barrel of your life, and you just pop someone with a crit barrel that's on a sleep target.
Yeah, he didn't get the eye edge until 30 minutes, so yeah.
Exactly, and that's after he's. And that's like what that was like nearly his like fourth item.
Yes, it was his 4th item. He got the Landry.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
But
And in this case, like in any other game, that would have been like a second item.
yeah,
And so imagine if he had that. Imagine if he had like Triforce Infinity Edge had half the game time.
would
And
have
considering that C9 were actually like somewhat ahead in
at
some of
20
these, some of
minutes
these
they
matches.
were ahead. They were ahead pretty much the whole game until the Elder Dragon. But
Yep.
it wasn't like a big lead. It was like a 2K lead, but it was like a
Yeah.
consistent 2K lead.
Oh yeah, that's fine. And you got to imagine like a lot of it was spent on the. I remember like a lot of it was spent on the Malzahar attacks. At least in because I believe it's the last game. And I think you're actually looking at the wrong one.
Am I? No, the Malzahar's here.
Yeah. No, I mean like I think the Malzahar was in the last game.
That's what I was talking about. Well, I thought we were talking about last game. This whole time.
Yeah, because we were talking about like the Pog Gragas plays and like
Oh,
there's a Lee Sin
that
there.
was game 3. That was game 3. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The Gragas plays from Blabber
Yeah,
were
yeah, the
were
Gragas
amazing.
that was actually really
Yeah,
was really sick.
that-
Where he
that
literally
was
where
so
he
good.
he body slams and then flashes sideways to hit the body slam while to predict the shadow dash,
Mm-hmm.
and then he throws the ult to predict the flash to knock
Yeah.
him backwards anyway. was pretty sick.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty sick. And the entire team was like, "Oh shit!" Volca yelled out, "It's like, oh, there's Blabberfish."
But yeah, that's basically how the series ended for FlyQuest though, with a 3-1 like victory there, and
Yep.
we can, I guess, anything more to say
Yep.
before we wrap up on that one, because
I mean, the only thing, like I said, I've pretty much like hounded down a lot of my issues, and
Yeah.
again, I've had a few days to let it simmer down into just like an easy steam over here.
yeah,
But again, it feels. I'm pretty sure no one on Cloud9 has to be at all like happy with any of the games, even the game that they won.
gotcha.
It was incredibly sloppy. It was picking like double weak side lanes with a with a freaking level 6 power spike mid jungle. It was using your last picks on champions like Zoe and Lee Sin, who are basically blindable picks for mid jungler at this point, and you have like absolutely no agency in the early game. Piss poor vision and objective control. taking fights on and just poorly timing ultimate cooldown timers, going in on engages repeatedly in front of like major neutral objectives. Blabber literally dying back to back directly in front of Infernal Soul, and then again in front of Elder Dragon. Though I will say the second part was like Ignar kind of like playing him because he literally got queued by Blabber, and Blabber got the Lee syndrome and went in. So Ignar just freaking battle danced and dashed backwards and just dragged Blabber all the way into his team. So that was a little bit less on Blabber, but considering that he's been doing this for probably about 5 weeks now, and I'm in like 5 weeks of gameplay. I'm like not even counting like the 2-week break that they had. He's probably doing it solo queue, but who knows? But again, it's one of those things where I feel like Cloud9 they felt completely underprepared. They felt like they were completely disrespectful, and they just played and drafted sloppily. And the worst part was that is like kind of like the fourth thing, and it's something that really kind of pissed me off as a C9 fan, who's heard Reaper go on and on in the past about lamenting the fact that like there's no like best of 3 series, I should say, in the regular season in North America, because it makes it so that they have less chance to actually experiment with drafts, to get reads on the meta, or even experiment on roster choices and try out different combinations. And just the idea that best of ones can give you an inaccurate representation of who all is actually strong in North America, who's actually consistent. But then you see in this series where you go into a best of 5, you don't actually like prepare well against the enemy team, and then you don't adapt at all. You don't adapt in your draft, and you barely adapt. You don't even really adapt in your gameplay and your game starts.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why exactly he's calling for best of 3s if you won't even do it in a best of 5 where you know you're going to have to do that between games.
But yeah, that's FlyQuest and C9. It was a surprising series for sure. The ones that were, I mean, there were still somewhat surprises here with Team Liquid and Golden Guardians. I didn't expect Team Liquid to look as like Golden Guardians to look as poor. I wouldn't even say they look necessarily super poor. It's just almost like anything they try. You mentioned this like right before we went live. It's like almost anything Golden Guardians tried just kind of failed against Team Liquid. And then the Team Liquid just boringly slogged it out and won the game each and every time.
The late game Lee Sin.
Yep. Hey, Brox is undefeated on Lee Sin this year. Or the split, I should say.
And yet somehow he still doesn't have a Lee Sin license.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah. Blabber kind of got his revoked as well. He's on suspension right now.
We do gotta say what Raptor had mentioned. Closer, unfortunately, after a fantastic season, pretty much in the running for best jungler. I think he was even in the running for MVP at one point.
Yep.
Completely.
He was in the
playoffs.
conversation at least. It was like him and Sunday, were like in the conversation.
They weren't like front runners by any means, but they were definitely
Dark
could bring
horses.
it up. Yeah, dark horses for sure. But completely bombed in playoffs. It was very disappointing to see. Like, he did not have a good series against TSM initially. He got out-jungled by Spica, even though they got 3-0'd. Or they 3-0'd TSM. He got out-jungled by Spica in a lot of those games. And then you come into against Team Liquid, against Broxah and Lee Sin all 3 times. And Broxah was out farming him when he was playing Graves to Broxah's Lee Sin. And Broxah was getting more farm and more agency around the map than Closer was doing on Graves. It was like,
and it's not even like Graves was even ganking lanes or something, and that's why he was missing farm. Like,
yeah.
Broxah was just kind of Broxah was like playing the AFK farm on Lee Sin, and yet he was somehow ahead.
Yeah, it made no
sense. He was like at one point he was like a camp ahead and a dragon ahead of a Graves as a Lee Sin.
It was very, very frustrating because like, I mean, I love Golden Guardians as well. So like just seeing how it was like everything they tried, just like maybe it looked a little like game 1. I thought tactical looked really shaky in that. We won't go into too much detail because again, do have to do the rest of the podcast. But outside of that, I think that our Team Liquid was playing decent enough. But everything Golden Guardian tried just like it was like a brick wall basically.
Yeah, it was weirdly enough it ended up coming down to kind of like a 3v7 this entire series. Because Haunter, like especially compared to the TSM series, he looked like a night and day different player. Like, he just looked completely lost. Like, he just did not know how to play the game. Freaking like closer was pretty much useless. It was like Demonte was basically like trying to carry this team, and then FBI and Huhi were actually playing out their lane super well.
Yeah, they even
Like you're
crushed
talking about game three. Game three, literally 2v2 like solo 2v2 duo killed their bot lane twice.
Yeah, twice. They played FBI and Hui played phenomenal all playoffs. FBI had the one really bad play in Game 5, which we'll talk about, but outside that, they played absolutely phenomenal all playoffs. And I slightly disagree with Raptor in the chat. I just want to say I think Demonte can definitely stay on the team. I think if you make a move as Golden Guardians, you make the move on top lane. Maybe get in. Who are your imports on Golden Guardians? You don't closer.
It's
an FBI. Yeah, duh.
Closer and FBI.
Duh. And
the minor regions.
Yes.
But I feel like I feel like this squad is fine, especially if you compare to like their growth as a team between spring and summer. I feel like this team is actually pretty solid as a whole.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to get as far as they did, like if they keep building synergy and try to find that consistency and that edge in the mid game, like this team could actually be really good.
Yeah. It was like, very nice to see.
This team was like, we'll get to it, but this team was like you talk about a duo of FBI and Huhi, who were like a meme last year, are now in conversation for the best bot lane duo in A.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Who would have thought we'd ever say this about
Huhi? Listen, I had faith in FBI the whole time. Never would have believed in Huhi.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally the same duo where last year I believe they picked Zyra Rakan. They picked Zyra Rakan into double up Core JJ playing. It was actually a Caitlyn Morgana lane, and they like literally were just getting double killed repeatedly.
Yep.
And like I think they lost their turret in like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest bot gap in the history, and then somehow we find literally them playing Core JJ and double lift, on two separate teams, obviously, and they were bot gapping them the other way.
Very nice to see. Moving on though, we have C9 versus Evil Geniuses. We won't go nearly as much detail. A little shaky, I thought, like the first game, definitely for C9 and Evil Geniuses. But they won.
Man, Evil Geniuses went to 5 games versus FlyQuest, and then C9 3-0.
They did.
Though to be fair, the Evil Geniuses series should have been a 3-0, just like the C9 FlyQuest series.
Yeah. So I was happy they got at least back in the running, because I definitely did not want to see Evil Geniuses whatsoever. Personally, I thought NA had at least 5 teams that I'm okay enough with sending to Worlds. The 4 of them in particular, and then 1 but yeah, I was already happy with Team Liquid and FlyQuest qualifying. Those are 2 of them. And then it was it was between C9 and Golden Guardians. I was really excited for both of them. And then TSM was a maybe, but TSM played pretty well, because then let's talk about TSM Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians started that series up 2-0.
I love how we just like, C9 beat Evil Geniuses.
They did. Let's be honest. That's kind of
Hey man, I did want to say just a quick thing. Okay, just let's give a little respect to Evil Geniuses. Like, they were getting memed all year. Freaking Jizuke, after the series, he sent out a tweet that was just a period.
Mm-hmm.
So that was seems a little mental boom there for me. So I have no idea what this roster is going to be doing. Talk about like off-season changes for the team. No idea what's going to happen.
I don't think Bang's coming back.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say. Because but here's the thing: if Bang's not coming back, I feel like, I mean, just look at how like we're talking bot gap. Holy shit. Sven, like look what a difference agency in the bot lane makes for C9. Because goddamn, like we're talking like, and this is literally the series where C9 gave away Caitlyn on Wraith's red side, and it didn't matter. He crushed Bane. Like I think they got like ganked, and they gave up first blood in the first game. But that was the game where Sven ended up flame horizoning as an 80 carry.
yeah.
And so, I'll say this: like people want to meme like the Kumo Jizuke stuff all the time, but like whatever. Golden Glue played well.
He did.
Golden Glue actually played really well this series. Like he definitely
you know who
held
also
his own.
played well?
Huni. Yeah, Huni. Exactly.
Played really
That's
well.
what I'm trying to say. The solo lanes that people were like, people even now are still talking about, why did they bring in Kumo and Golden Glue? Is because the team wouldn't have mattered that much. Golden Glue and Huni were not the problem.
No.
Unless you're putting Jizuke and duoing him with Zazel, it's not going to matter. Huni was basically carrying the games.
Yeah.
He was doing it as best as he could.
I haven't seen that
even like he was
in years.
He was out. Yeah, he like matched. I think it was like he matched he almost matched a Gangplank in damage in the game as a Shen.
I think since I started watching League, Huni was really good the very first year I started watching. And then since then it's been downhill. It was like, okay, that was a little bit of a shaky year for him, but he'll bounce back. Then it got worse. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then it got even worse this year after he wouldn't even play for most of the year. Like he was just or at least on Evil Jesus, he was benched for most of the split, and then he was in academy, and it was like, wow, this guy has fallen from grace.
Well, I mean, he wasn't. I mean, they couldn't play him. They had
couldn't.
because of the imports they
That's
had.
true.
NA and their imports, right?
But yeah, he was also entering an academy, though. It wasn't like
So I was like, well, I'm probably not going to want him real quick. But Huni stepped up.
He did.
Like you were talking, like the biggest meme for years, like even as far back as 2016 when Huni came into NA for the first time on Immortals, the original Immortals with Reignover. Like the whole thing was like Huni was like a choke master. Like that's when like the real Huni would come out. That's why like Huni could never get anything done in playoffs. The highest he ever finished was one split where he won, I believe it was the third place match in spring 2018 on Echo Fox with him and Dardoch.
Mm-hmm.
And they never finished that high again. And he never made Worlds in NA.
Yeah.
He never even made a final.
That is true. That's kind of crazy. That's
But you can tell like this. It felt like this was like Huni playing like for his life. This series, and he was like, it was probably the scariest like series he had because this is like a Huni going back into like actual holo Huni form, where he's just like actually like smurfing on kids. This is the reason like people would pick up Huni. So, like it's possible that this roster has merit, like going into the future, but I don't know. Like especially between Jizuke.
You're gonna
Bang.
lose Jizuke and Bang, I think.
Yeah,
and Huni won't be an import. Huni will not be an import.
Yeah, exactly. Huni's going to have so much value, and and especially if he's performing like this. If he actually, I know that we're asking a little much for Huni in that regard, but if Huni actually tries to actually maintain form, and he's doing this like not even like do or die champions. Like he's still playing like his Rumble. He still could play his Gangplank, but he was doing like hard carry work on Shen. And we know Shen is strong, but Huni probably had like the most impressive Shen performance in a loss. So I think it's yeah. And just to answer the chat, Huni is a resident as of next.
Technically,
split.
as of right
So
now, because he's not going to play anymore. So
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Like he needed to complete. Play like a certain number of games this split to qualify as a NA resident for the next split.
Yeah.
So he is the last person to be to fall into that rule for NA residency. Last person eligible, I should say. The only other person is Reignover, but he's coaching on C9.
Yeah. So yeah. it'll be interesting.
But so yeah, a little bit of it's a sad state for Evil Geniuses there. So it's kind of unfortunate. Because I feel like this team actually did figure things out, and I feel like they're getting a lot more shit from people who are just like, oh no, they're just bad, they're terrible, they're shit, they're a bad team. And granted, they're not good.
No,
I'm not gonna make that argument.
I won't say they're shit, but they're definitely they weren't world worthy, in my opinion.
I would say they're not a world caliber team. But they're not like fucking garbage. I've seen garbage. Anyone who thinks that they're garbage doesn't watch enough League of Legends.
Yeah. Also, what Raptor said, they finished third in spring and fifth in summer. That's gonna be better than Rogue in the finals after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, even though they finished lower, they upgraded their logo.
They did.
So that's a win for me. That's a win for me.
Look at fucking
Yeah.
CLG.
I-
Yeah.
I-
No one
I
wants to
know,
look
that's true.
there.
Hey, no, we're not going to discuss them.
No, we're not talking
They're-
CLG.
they
We
are
don't
he
have to
who-
talk.
they are
We
they
don't
who
have to
must
talk
not
about
be named.
CLG until next spring. Okay.
Damn it, Will. We're not supposed to talk about them.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to name them.
All right. We won't
Now they're
name-
going to
we
show up
won't
in
name-
playoffs and curse us all.
Ugh.
But it was a much better look from C9. We finally got to. It took literally 5 playoff games for them to actually adapt their draft a little bit. They kind of did a little bit. They unbenched the Kench for Vulcan. Immediately looked like way better because he finally got to actually play the game instead of just sitting on his ADC shoulder. And not to say he's a bad Yumi, but man, that sucks. That actually sucks, especially because he legitimately is a playmaker, and we finally saw him on one.
Mhm.
Even breaking out the freaking Rakan as a pairing for Callista, just so he can play it.
Let's do a speed round of TSM Golden Guardians, and then we'll make our predictions and move on to EU because I know
Throw.
No, well, yeah, it was just game one.
It wasn't even like it was like this was like throw central, man.
Yeah.
You might as well just call this the Yeet series.
Game one,
because they were just throwing that shit.
TSM not bad at the beginning. It was a very close. This game actually was very close back and forth, but at the end, Golden Guardians with the Baron and obviously with the Shen, like we said, very big pick. Shen and Caitlyn and Huhi, by the way, with that amazing flash into barrier with the W, and then get it at the last second so Broken Blade doesn't kill FBI. Oh my god, that was freaking amazing.
Who would have thought we'd be talking about Huhi, man, the Pogger support.
Making amazing plays. It's so cool. It's so I flamed him so much.
This guy,
So I'm
this
happy.
dude is like seriously like if there was a most improved award, it has to be Huhi.
Mhm. Oh yeah, easily.
Like the most improved award, especially like between spring and summer.
Not
Dude
even
was
close.
actually smurfing. The only other competition is like maybe Afro, but that's
Ooh,
about
Afro was a
it.
good one, but yeah, I'd give
I
it to
would
Huhi.
say maybe. I feel like that's a stretch because Huhi, I feel like Afro feels like he's kind of dragging like a dead corpse, but Huhi is like actually dragging a dead corpse to a win in some of these plays.
Yeah. Oh man, and then so game one that was good. Game two, again they got the Caitlyn in the bar, and they just simply were outplaying Double It and Bifrost like we mentioned all the time. Just Bjergsen
Change was the problem, guys.
was this the Ornn game by Broken Blade where he didn't upgrade anyone's items for like 5 minutes after they were upgradable?
I want to say that's the case.
I think this was.
But I feel like wasn't this also like there was also like a game where like no one bought any Ornn upgradable items.
But they had them. It was like, oh, they literally had no upgrade. Okay, so was it? Unfortunately,
That's what I was saying. That's what I remember.
Unfortunately,
I distinctly remember that no one bought an ornament item,
gotcha.
ornamentable
Okay,
item,
okay, yeah,
and I was very upset.
yeah. So they basically thrown away Ornn.
It was kind of like the Ornn game that C9 played against Evil Geniuses, where Blabber like took fucking 3 items to build an item for Ornn to upgrade. He
Yeah.
finally built a Youmuu's like right before the game ended.
Yeah, here you go. You can upgrade this for me. But this game again, this one was pretty. This one was actually less close than the first one, I thought. But Golden Guardians won, and I think was this Ocean Soul for TSM? I believe they had Ocean Soul.
Yes.
Yes, it was Ocean Soul for TSM.
This
This
was
the
the
GG
series
revenge
of,
story.
well, it was the GG revenge story, and then it was just the GG story later.
You know, GG's lost the gold or the Ocean Soul before, and then they are the ones to win against it.
Hey, remember, freaking TSM lost a similar way to Team Liquid,
Yep.
where they were fighting for Ocean Soul and then lost the game.
Team Liquid just too good with that Ocean. When the enemy team gets that Ocean Soul, they just end
It's
the
just
game.
TSM and Golden Guardians, man. These teams in Ocean Soul.
And then Golden Guardians was like, we're done trying. You get the Black Cleaver, which I'm not going to go into too much detail. I hate Black Cleaver as an item, especially on Senna.
Hey man, Black Cleaver's good on some champions.
It's good on some champions. I don't like it on Senna.
It's a good second item on freaking Renekton.
I actually don't like any of this build, like, at all. To be fair, I guess I don't play ADC Senna. I play support Senna. So I'm always going Umbral Glaive. I'm always going Frozen Mallet and stuff like that. That's just such a
Hey,
better.
man, at least he built a Muramana.
That's true. That
And
one.
also, at least he was building freaking Black Cleaver when no one else on his team was building Black Cleaver.
Yeah,
I've seen that too many times, and it made me really upset.
that is fair. I hate
Where
when
there's like two other there's like the jungler and jungler and top lane. There's like a
makes no
Renekton
sense.
and
It
Graves or
makes
some
no
shit like
sense.
that.
There are. I hope.
And they both built Black Cleaver, and then Senna also built Black.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my hope with. It's not just NA. NA is actually really bad at it, but it's also in EU, which they are starting to get a little better. It's definitely in Korea, and it's actually doesn't happen too much in the LPL, weirdly enough, but it still happens. Items need to be read, people. Like read what items do, synergize with your team with what items do, and I'm hoping beyond all hope that the item rework is actually going to get the players, the coaches, the analysts to stop being
look at the
insanely
items.
lazy. Insane. So many people can be fired for the amount of laziness that happens with item builds across all regions. It is absurd the amount of stuff. Like we mentioned, double Black Cleaver. You just threw away about 2,000 gold on your team. Even more, honestly. It's 30,000 gold, but 2,000 gold may.
Well, here I will say, to be fair to that, to do these points actually, the Black Cleaver still at least gives good stats.
Yes.
It still gives you AD, gives you a lot of health, gives you 20% CDR is pretty
20%
huge.
CDR is huge.
Yeah, and that's like that's the only argument that I'll make against like Black Cleaver Senna is more survivability, more CDR, AD on top of it. And then the passive works well, like the Rage passive that gets your move speed, works well combined with their Glacial Augment.
Yeah.
So you slow people down and also haste yourself, so you can you're just a kite master with your autos.
Humble Great
I
Blades
get
is
it.
cheaper.
I get it. I get it, but if you're talking optimal build against a team that literally does not have armor, it is not optimal.
It doesn't make sense.
Like I said, you can still build lethality, which is just better.
And
you have
cheaper.
items like Yomu's Ghostblade, that literally gives you move speed.
Mhm.
So like I said,
And
I
cooldown.
understand.
And cooldown.
I understand. I can playing devil's advocate. Black Cleaver is good as an item. It is not optimal on Senna, but I get it.
Yeah, and
It's
what
like
Raptor
when Licorice built Frozen Heart on Shen.
yeah, we don't
I
talk
get
about
it.
that.
Hey man, have you seen the stats on Frozen Heart?
Yeah,
It's 110 armor.
it is a lot of armor.
The freaking item is like over 100% gold efficient, based strictly on the CDR and the armor it gives.
And
Even if you cut out the mana, it's insane.
yeah. And I mean, the issue with the Black Cleaver is what Raptor also brought up is it's really helpful if your solo lanes are AD carries, like or not necessarily AD carries, but like AD bruiser carries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
not ADCs. They could be. You could have Evolution or something, but you have AP with Echo and AP with Mordekaiser, so you're the only one outside of Volibear that's benefiting from this Black Cleaver.
And Volibear still does a lot of magic damage.
Yeah, that's to be fair. So it's you.
The physical damage that he does is negligible.
I will say props to both Spica and Closer. This is another thing that I cannot stand. I am also a sinner about this, but Locket of the Solari on your tanks in the middle of the game is like one of the best, cheapest items in the entire game. It's 2,200 gold, and it gives you that huge shield to all of your allies. That is so gold efficient, but for team fights, and people just don't do it. People are just like, you know what? We don't need to do it anymore.
We did see that though. We saw it later.
I said, yeah.
That's what I mean. Oh, that's right. I thought you were just saying in general, and you're being upset because people weren't building it.
No, I'm saying they actually
the
built
opposite of Black Cleaver, where people are building Black Cleaver when they shouldn't be. Yeah. It's like they're not building Locket.
Yeah, I'm actually, but there's just so many items like that all regions, NA's a center, Korea, EU, even China, like so many regions. Just it's like I've said this before on the podcast. If a team really, really hard dedicated tons of time and analysis into item building and made it so people understood what to build in every scenario, like that was part of their training and practice, that team will, like, if you are at a high level skill already, like say Damwon did that, or JDG or Top or something like that, you are going to win worlds no matter what at that point, because not only are you skilled enough at that point, you're also giving yourself huge gold advantages that are hidden, basically, by just buying your items. Or you're not giving yourself gold deficits that certain items are going to give you.
I'm gonna stand by this as well. I like Locket on a champion like set.
Yeah, I
Like
love
when
it.
you get like later stages, like like second or third item like Locket on set is actually
Love
pretty
it.
sick. I feel like another item that's like I feel like it goes under the radar with how good it is Shirelia's.
Shirelia's?
Especially like yeah, like
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah, it's not.
I feel like
It's only 2,000 gold.
it's so
2,050.
cheap, dude.
It's 2,050
It's so
gold.
cheap and it gives you so much. It gives you so many stats.
People just.
And it gives you shield bonuses too. It just makes you so much stronger.
Mhm.
I feel like Shirelia's on like set. I feel like Shirelia's is like a later item like on set, and like Shen is actually kind of busted.
Yeah, I think that I agree.
It's
that's
it's
actually-
insane. Like this is
It's
literally
cheap.
something I
It's not,
did on
it's
my
not
on my
like we're telling them to go get this
yeah. But these are support.
3,600
These are
gold.
like yeah. These are meant to be affordable on a support budget.
Yeah.
You're a jungler / top laner or even like a mid laner, and you're giving yourself like this ability. Like imagine if you just had like here's a set with like, and now you have more CDR, you have freaking bonus shielding, and you have a sick active that gives your entire team a Sivir ultimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, this is literally I did this on my off chance because I literally wanted to find out. I was like, really? Like I for the longest time I was like, there's no way these support items that give like shield power.
Yeah.
And just make it so that Set is just stronger now
These
because
combined,
it just makes his own shield stronger. I'm like that's no way it interacts that way.
combined,
Turns out it does.
they are
turns out it
2,000 or
does.
4,250 for 2 full items that are super beneficial to you.
That's true. By the way, Raptor is so easy because you know what Set's problem is? Freaking not being able to close distance without flash. You know what helps with that? A freaking move of like 30 to 40% bonus move speed. On
I mean,
active.
and increase that with the
you can use every
Swifties and
90
Deadmans?
seconds.
Put the Swifties and Deadmans.
You're
in.
so fast.
You're zooming. You're Hecarim basically at that point.
Yeah. Imagine Hecarim was Shirelius. He doesn't get a shield, but it's funny.
Oh, all right. We got off
This is
topic.
Righteous Glory
We
Hecarim.
got off topic.
Righteous
We
Glory
gotta go
Hecarim.
back. Gotta go back.
I will say this though, guys. Please don't look into items for
Seriously.
look into support items for Shen. It literally makes your Stand United unbeatable.
It's
It just gives bonus. It gives you bonus shielding on your awesome shielding ultimate,
Yeah.
and it gives you bonus shielding on your own shield from your passive.
Mm-hmm. I don't get.
Don't overlook them, man. Those things are cheap as hell,
Yep, they
and
are.
they're like 130% gold efficient.
Yeah, they're so good. All right, quickly.
Anyway,
they picked
yes.
they picked Senna again. They did go lethality this time. It didn't work because Senna was 7-0. Speaker was 7-0. That kind of hurts.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to make a quick mention. Shout out by the way to the blind Mordekaiser, and then they picked Jackson to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
God.
Thank God.
Freaking like, oh my God, Golden Guardians had a chance to do that against TL, and they freaking didn't.
Nope.
They could have opted for it like twice
Nope.
against Team Liquid.
They were like, we don't.
And they
wanna
never
do that.
did. 'Cause Team Liquid picked like blind Mordekaiser. Didn't
Twice,
they
yep.
pick it like three
Yep.
games in a
I
row
think
almost?
two games in a row.
Yeah, I know they
And
did in the
put him on
first two
Ornn
for
on the third.
sure.
Then they put him on Ornn on the third, but the first 2 games was first pick Mordekaiser both times.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Also, I just saw the comment from Raptor Man, shilling Shirelius to suckers. Dude, people are building fucking Shirelius on like shit like Morgana. I'm like, dude, I would build it on someone who could actually give you a sick engage. I'd rather see that. Or you know what? Have 2 Shirelias, so that you could stagger their actives, and then you could basically have a move speed like for like 2 different engages at 2 different times.
Yep. I
Anyway.
agree. All right. Final game was insane. This game was so back and forth. Actually, we had a huge. I mean, look at the gold is like never under. It was always under 2K gold. When it finally didn't get to 2K gold was when TSM took the Elder Drake actually, but we're gonna go back a little bit because I want to talk about this Dragon Soul. This Dragon Soul with Biofrost. Oh my god, I haven't seen the comms yet, so it could have been a comm failure, but it looks so bad on Biofrost.
It without question had to have been a comm failure.
It could have. It's absolutely had to be.
Giving context to the situation, Golden Guardians are on the dragon
For soul
to
point.
give themselves soul.
Yeah, sorry.
Like actual infernal soul, not soul point. They're already there.
Yeah, my bad.
Like it's even worse. It's even worse in this scenario. They're at soul point. So this is infernal soul. TSM have to contest. You have Speaking coming around the backside as Nidalee on the backside of the pit. So he's not even close, but they do actually manage to get vision on the enemy on the team, and then he goes over the backside with the blast cone as Nidalee, and then right at the exact same time,
2 levels ahead.
Literally at the So he actually has a better smite than Closer because he's Nidalee, so he outfarmed him a lot in the early game. He was just ahead. So, but at the same exact time, because they're basically just you can tell they're just going to try to flip it for soul, which is fair.
It's all they could do at that point.
Literally at the same time, Biofrost throws down the Tempered Fate on Bard, and it shuts off the dragon.
Doesn't hit anyone else.
Right as Speaker is directly there and ready to jump in to try to smite steal.
And it hits 0 Golden Guardian members.
Yep. So I think it hit 1. I think it also hit Closer.
Okay. I don't know.
I think that was the one thing, but it's like but the whole point is that it shuts down the Drake. And then right as your jungler is now in the open.
Yep.
And there's still like at least 3 or 4 Golden Guardians members who are like, see him. You know?
Well,
which then forces Spica to use his stopwatch. I can't remember if it was a stopwatch or his own, but basically he goes into stasis just to try to buy himself time. He dies. Soul just goes over. So now Golden Guardians have a huge swing in the game. And they pick up Infernal Soul.
Yeah. And
just complete failure of comms. Like it was a massive meme. Like I know we all literally like jumped in freaking Discord and we're basically saying about how like, well guys, we found out who the scapegoat for TSM is going to be because goddamn that play from Biofrost was so troll.
Yeah.
And they even called out like he literally I think they literally called out on the cast.
Yeah.
And said he literally actively griefed his own team. But I will say he does make up for it later.
He did.
With basically the game-saving play.
Yeah, huge team fight. He gets the stun onto FBI, and then right as he stuns, Ash double sends the arrow instantly into FBI. Had stepped up, trying to make a play. Because to be fair, Kalista doesn't scale very well. Bjergsen on Zillion's level 18. To be fair, I mean, people said they weren't gonna win the game. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I get the sentiment that FBI. But I think Syndra and Kennen's scaling is very strong into Renekton and Nidalee. I just think that it was tough. It was you had Infernal Soul with Syndra though. I feel like you could have, if you landed a stun on Bjergsen like before he ulted, he's instant dead. He's gonna die in 1 second, and just there were so many opportunities, or even get the stun or a hook with Huhi or a stun with Haunter. I thought there was more opportunities. FBI, however, decided to try to make a hero play, and it just completely collapsed. It got stunned up immediately. Popped in the Guardian Angel.
It was actually flashbacks to Game 2 of the first Golden Guardians TSM series, where Golden Guardians were actually in the base. FBI jumps forward directly onto 3 sand soldiers that the Bjergsen on his ear has, and just gets shredded and dies immediately. And TSM ended up getting an ace and nearly pulling the game back.
Yeah.
So, but I would say even going back further, because that was literally the game. That was actually just the game-ending play.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about the Elder Dragon play that literally got TSM back into the game after giving up Soul.
Oh god,
where he hit a massive Tempered Fate to stop the enemy team, and Broken Blade just comes in on the late game Renekton and just shreds and annihilates everybody.
It's that Black Cleaver, man.
Yeah, it's the 3-item Renekton with, I think he had PTA this game.
Yeah.
So he was actually he was like, people talk about like Renekton like late game scaling. Like the dude's still really strong on 3 items if you pilot him correctly. That's why LPL still plays him.
It means
I've seen enough freaking mid to late game plays on Renekton to recognize, hey man, Renekton's not just like some shitter in the late game. If he's at least even and has his items,
yeah.
like he can actually be useful.
He if he falls
then-
behind, that's where he's useless.
Oh yeah, then he's Kennen.
Yeah.
He's just actually useless,
Yeah.
anti-champion.
So
But
speaking of
and then
that,
of course-
we
and then of
got
course-
the electric
and then of
gerbil on
course-
this team. 0 kills.
and then, yeah. And then of course, by the way, TSM off of that play, they go to move towards the Baron, Damate the god, Tanner time baby.
Steals
Nearly
it.
after one hype play from Broken Blade and the redemption play from Biofrost, Tanner just rolls up in there. Tanner Damate, Infernal Soul Syndra just throws the WE into the back of the pit and steals the Baron as a Syndra.
I think he did more damage than Smite did. Like I think it was.
I'm almost certain he did.
Yeah, I think it was
was
like
actually
1.4k damage or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
he
that-
can't-
Which again, it was literally like you're talking like the back and forth in this game. It's incredible.
yeah.
You're talking like one play where TSM they troll it out and they lose soul. The next one they actually outplay it and they get a bunch of kills and the elder. And then they go to snowball at the Baron and then Golden Guardians just get the super steal.
Yep.
They just take the
and
Baron
then one
themselves.
final fight, and then that was where it all fell.
And then they
apart.
try and Golden Guardians they just take it and they throw it right back.
Yeah, it was.
They continue the Golden Guardians. It took 8 games, but TSM finally beat Golden Guardians 3 times.
Yep.
But-
and unfortunately for Golden Guardians,
And
that's
again,
the end of their run.
I will say, and again, it continues the trend of Golden Guardians disappointing me after I believe in them.
Yeah, it was very tough. They ended the season just exactly how we always predicted them, and just choking at the end. All right. Let's go to predictions real quick, I guess, and then we can go over to EU. I think I should have a rule to prevent rematches.
I feel like-
Maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like that'd be really hard to execute then,
Yeah.
because I feel like at some point, unless like, I feel like at some point there are going to be teams that will play each other again.
Yeah. I
Like
think it
even
should
like
be a...
even in spring when they didn't have 8-team playoffs, they still eventually had FlyQuest versus Geniuses.
I personally think it
After
should be
they
a
played in the first
reseeding.
round.
It should be a reseeding, but in the same scenario with reseeding, TSM versus Golden Guardians face each other anyway. So, oh well. Anyway, all right.
That's fair.
So the most important game for LCS this week, we have. Oops, by the way, we got this wrong, and we got this one right, sort of. This was, or I got this one right. You said Evil Geniuses 3-1 over FlyQuest. Oh yeah, because you predicted them to turn around. That sounds weird now, but yeah, I forgot because they came back against FlyQuest and you thought they were gonna adapt.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I said that if FlyQuest lost to FlyQuest lost to C9, that Evil Geniuses could pull it back.
These go.
And in the form they showed against C9, they might have if C9 showed up on form and beat FlyQuest. It really depends. So.
All right, so now we got.
But I was right about like if C9 went down there, they would just be.
Yep, we all predicted that one. So we got C9 versus TSM and Team Liquid versus Fly today, or this week, and we don't have that. Next one is Saturday on the 7th. So there's only a 1-game prep time between that. Damn, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. That's the winner's advantage for the winner's bracket final.
Big advantage. Yeah, especially
Yeah,
considering
it's literally that you get to play a game and then they had like you win your game, you have a whole week of prep, a whole week to prep, whereas and then the enemy team basically just has like it doesn't even really have a day.
Yeah.
To actually prep against you.
Yeah, you have like
final.
a few hours because after the series, like this, you're not gonna practice after that probably. Maybe you will at this point.
And realistically, you're probably not practicing against the team that's in the grand final either. So
No.
your scrim is probably limited.
Yeah, so that would be because the rest of the teams are probably gonna be taken off except because they're done for the year. So yeah, that'll be tough.
Should be
Anyway,
Yeah.
C9 versus TSM. I want to hear your prediction. I have mine.
I gotta go with what I picked on Strafe. I do have C9 in this game,
Woo, Ryan with
and I
with the faith.
and I think it's gonna be 3-2 C9.
For 2C9.
Actually, yeah, I will say 3-2 C9. I think they'll manage some. It's just the 3-2 is more so an indicator of like how close I think the match is gonna be for the two teams. But I could easily see this game if C9 come in and they're unprepared like they're unprepared like they were against FlyQuest, which I don't think they will be. I know
They
they
better not
definitely
be.
take they definitely take CSM seriously, and I know that being in loose bracket on top of that will just make them need to prep more. But I still think like pressure in like Pearson versus Niski might be a little rough. Blabber has been having a shaky playoffs. So, like, and Blade, he's been a bit inconsistent, but I feel like he still has his moments. And the Golden Guardian series, he actually stepped up a little bit as well. But I feel like if, like I said, if C9 comes in and either like the prep doesn't go well for them, or if their mental is just kind of off, I think TSM could actually just 3-0 them.
Wow.
It's possible.
But
I think like on the other side, if TSM come in and they're sloppy and C9 is like on the super resurgence form, then I think it could be a 3-0 the other way.
Okay.
Like I said, the 3-2 I feel like is more so indicative to how much of a toss up I think the series is.
Gotcha. I on the other hand, I have predicted C9 to win, but unlike Ryan, I actually think this is going to be a 3-0 by C9. I actually.
Oh my god. Well, don't say that, man. The last time we said it was a 3-0, they lost to FlyQuest.
True. But I actually.
Well, I won't say the last time because technically you also said 3-0 if they lose and go
Evil
play
Jesus,
Evil
yeah.
Jesus,
So
but like I said, hey,
technicalities.
neither of us expected that to be the case.
Yeah, I actually think it's gonna be a giga massive difference in the bot lane between as long as you guys aren't picking Yumi every
Massive.
game.
That's even better than Paparo Supermassive.
Like I think as long as you're not picking Yumi in the lane for Vulcan, you put him on a playmaker, you guys are gonna absolutely destroy Double Lift and Biofrost. On top of that, I don't think Spica is the jungler to punish Blabber as hard as Santorin and FlyQuest did. I really don't.
Hey man, Spica was punishing closer.
That is
we
true.
thought that closer
That
was a
is
Smurf.
true. That is true. But I don't even know if it was necessarily Spica punishing closer or Spica just flatly outplaying him. Like not necessarily punishing him, but just beating him on smite fights, just beating him on ganks and stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily as much invading and just like ruining his shit like Santorin did to Blabber.
I get you. I feel like the other issue that I have with this is the trend that we've been seeing, like going back to the execution issue that I had in the FlyQuest C9 series, that it was opting for fights when in not playing around cooldowns appropriately, taking poor engages like 45s and whatnot, like man down advantages, not playing around globals correctly, not playing around their own ultimate cooldowns correctly. And I feel like TSM as a team, they kind of revel in that. They revel in a team inting into them. That's how they're working with it with like momentum as well, because that's kind of how they beat Golden Guardians.
That is
like
true.
Golden Guardians, Golden Guardians had like they start to like play goofy. They start to like put in goofy drafts and doing suboptimal builds and taking wonky fights, and then flipping objectives, and then jumping in as a Callista directly into a Zilean Bard.
I will say
if
C9 gives over Zilean to Bjergsen at any point multiple times, oh my god. Just don't do that.
Yes, and I will say, yes, this is a worrying trend.
If C9 doesn't pick Caitlyn, yeah. By the way, I better see Caitlyn from C9. Like,
yes.
Where is it?
I've gone on record, and for anyone who may be from the C9 subreddit, because I do tend to post the YouTube VODs for this podcast in the C9 subreddit. That's how we've actually got a lot of our nice viewers that we interact with.
That's how we met Damon.
By the way, so I do post it there for anyone who may not be see my comments everywhere, this is literally something I've laid out already, just straight up. That C9, if they getting blue side, I feel like they should just take blue side, last ban Ash, force TSM to either ban Caitlyn or give it up.
Yeah.
Because and you could joke and say, oh well, what if like TSM decided, okay, well maybe they are only picking Ash because they felt like they could just kind of lose gracefully into the FBI Huhi lane, and maybe they could play more aggressive champions like Lucian or something into the Vulcan Sven lane. The way I see it, thanks for giving us Caitlyn. Good luck fighting Sven and Vulcan on Caitlyn with a lane with agency and push.
What about Caitlyn Yumi?
I'll throw myself out a window. Because God, like I would rather accept a freaking Lucian Yumi than Caitlyn Yumi.
Yeah, Lucian Yumi's actually a good combo.
Yeah, I mean TSM played it, by the way.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is the issue this game, because just in terms of pure strategy, it fits to what C9 was already doing. They were early picking their bot lane in every draft in playoffs, and they were saving essentially either a safe blind mid lane pick or a top lane pick like GP or TF, and then trying to go for a safer matchup for jungle or for the opposite solo lane. Or like in one case where they picked like Rakan last for some reason.
If only there was a really S plus tier ADC and support that works so well together that you could pick if it's not banned by either champion.
Exactly. And this is kind of going off of that is again, think about how the strategy works. You ban Ashe, TSM gets the last ban and you get first pick. If they ban Caitlyn, okay, good. Now you've essentially thinned the herd of ADCs and you get your first pick. Yeah. If they banned Kalista, then guess what? You can pick Senna, or you can pick something, or you can just pick something strong and force Doublelift to play fucking Senna.
Yeah, we've all seen Doublelift Senna.
Good luck with that. Yeah, or if you really want to, just pick Senna because Sven is good on Senna. I don't know if she's first pick worthy, but if the ADC pool is kind of dried up a little bit, it's a fair enough first pick. Or just pick a strong flex pick like a Set or something, or Galio if it's open if you want to pick it that early. But if they don't ban Caitlyn, then you pick Caitlyn, and then you say, okay, now you pick from what's left of the ADC. Show us what you got, and then we can save our support, and then we can save our support for that.
Before we move on, I have one quick question for NA. In general, this doesn't have to be necessarily C9 TSM. Do we see Ziggs bot lane? Because I think Ziggs is a very good counter to Caitlyn bot lane.
I think we do.
Okay.
Maybe not now, but I feel like that'd be something that we would. Honestly, I feel like it's surprising that I feel like we would have seen it already. The team that would have brought it out would be Golden Guardians.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, because then it would have been like, oh, Ziggs, oh, it's a mid lane pick, oh, surprise, now it's a bot lane pick.
I will say,
but I would say in the C9 TSM matchup, it's possible because Sven has pulled out mage picks in the past, like Syndra, Swain, Cassiopeia, so I can see it happening, but I feel like with the way bot lane is going, and especially with what C9 has been doing, and especially with the way I feel like they're trying to course correct now in meta, they're not going to want to try to switch things up too much right now. They're going to want to try to stick to what they've learned works better for them and sticking with that rather than try to throw another wrinkle into it and thinking that it might work. Because we saw what happened when they tried that last time and they looked like shit.
Fair.
But I will say it is possible because Wild Turtle might pull it out.
Okay.
Wild Turtle has done some weird stuff in the past. I want to say I think he actually brought out Ziggs bot before in LCS, like in the regular season. I don't know if it was him. I remember it distinctly being played at some point. It may not even been this year, but I know he has done Mage's bot before. He's played like Yasuo bot before.
He does have 3 games on Ziggs.
I feel like if anyone left, it's gonna be Sven or it's gonna be Turtle.
Yeah, he has 3 games on Ziggs of all time. I don't know when. Yeah. I can't really filter it by
when he
played them, but he did. He's 1 and 2 with
it. Hey, he's got 1.
Did he play him this year? All of this year. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
No.
I will say this though, by the way, and just kind of judging on this because this was a post going back to the C9 subreddit. someone did post just a quick it was a quick screenshot of Zven's recent history in solo queue, and it showed him dueling with Vulcan, of course, playing Caitlyn. Had 4 games in a row, 4 wins in a row, with an absurd KDA. And one of the duos that they kept playing against was Tactical and Core JJ, playing stuff like Jin Morgana.
Hey man, that's
and they were smashed, and they smashed them.
Yeah,
so
team diff.
It's yeah.
Jungle
yeah,
diff.
no.
Jungle diff.
It was clearly a topside difference that game.
Absolutely.
But again, and I've commented on that one as well if anyone didn't see it. But this is again that's cautious optimism because Sven was playing with Vulcan, playing Kate lanes before the FlyQuest series, and we saw that they never brought it out, and he was smashing then too. So who knows? I want to have some confidence in C9 that the EG series is like they actually course corrected, and they're going back into what works for them, and that they're actually going to start taking a more introspective look at themselves. They're not going to look at this and say, "Oh, well, we're smashing everybody in scrims, whatever," like they did versus FlyQuest. And they're going to even look at like, "Oh, well, it's Evil Geniuses. This shouldn't be a problem." And then seeing that game 1 and be like, "Oh shit, no, this might actually be a problem." And then they course corrected and looked miles better.
Okay. Let's move on to FlyQuest versus TSM. Our team TSM.
No, let's just keep talking.
No. We got.
Let's keep talking about all.
We gotta go.
Let's keep talking about. Let's keep talking about all the ways that C9 is gonna hurt me this weekend.
All right. Yeah. Team Liquid versus FlyQuest. Tough matchup for Team Liquid. Team Liquid does not like playing FlyQuest. I said before that no matter who won between Golden Guardians and TSM the first time, they were absolutely going to pick them no matter what, as long as FlyQuest didn't lose to Evil Geniuses. It didn't even matter. Even if it was a 3-2, it was like that 3-2 almost reverse sweep. I don't care. FlyQuest was not going to Team Liquid no matter what. I was right. And for good reason, apparently, because they 3-0'd Golden Guardians and FlyQuest 3-1 C9. So
they weren't going to Team Liquid.
So
but they still ended up going to Team Liquid.
Getting first place for Team Liquid, very important apparently. Like it got them a world seed confirmed already. It's tough for me to say that I think it's going to be a good matchup. They match up very well against each other. I think Solo is better than Impact. I think Santorin's better than Broxah. I think Power of Evil is slightly worse than Jensen, but it's very marginal. Very marginal in my opinion.
And Power of Evil's been playing a lot more like his champion pool is a lot more expansive now. And on top of just being really solid as a player already.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and the fact that he was out roaming Niski as like an Azir.
Yeah.
That's actually
very
and that's the form he shows up against Jensen. Like I feel like,
yeah.
I feel like that matchup's a little bit more skewed.
I think that
he's actually just he's a really good laner and then also roaming.
Yeah, that top side for FlyQuest, I'm so excited to see at Worlds, and I think that's just flat out better to equal every position of Team Liquid. I will say I like Tactical better than Wild Turtle, and I like Core JJ better than Ignar, but they're not Tactical decently significant over Wild Turtle in my opinion.
The difference in their bot lane 2v2 is not significant.
It's not significant enough to win the whole match. I personally love Ignar. I think that I might have a little bias towards there, but I think Ignar's roams are really, really good. So Core JJ roaming on the Bard or something is not going to be as effective as it is against other supports. And
I think the bot matchup is actually going to be really interesting as well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be like another case of like the C9 TSM like predicted draft strategy that we have for them. That's going to be a matter of who's going to draft for the better push in bot lane. Because not necessarily for the 2v2 like FBI and Huhi, but for the roam for Ignar. And in a way, I feel like that actually works better for Team Liquid because you saw what happens when they get drafted against for the 2v2, and the enemy team actually just plays straight up for the 2v2. They get freaking just smacked, and they got smacked hard.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, but just like with C9 and FlyQuest, I don't think it's necessarily like Ignar and Turtle are just gonna play like the 2v2, and you can just play weak side and just kind of lose gracefully like Ezreal Yumi,
Yeah.
because Ignar won't play for the 2v2. He's going to go on the map
Peace.
if you give him push.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the sense Core actually likes to play that as well. And if you play something like a Bard and you're stuck under turret and the enemy team is out roaming you, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yep. I will say I'll make my prediction first because it is Team Liquid. For me, I guess I'm just biased. I think it's a 3-2, but I won't say it's the gut because I don't really have a real gut feeling on this one yet. But I think it's just like my mind's telling me that FlyQuest is going to win the series. I will pick Team Liquid. I think I want to believe in.
I love how it's literally like you get the fan moment with Team Liquid and like it's gonna be a 3-2, but I feel like Fly's gonna win, and I'm like, well, I think if C9 3-2, but I think TSM's gonna win.
Yeah. I want to believe that Team Liquid has more picks. They are just doing the opposite of C9 and not experimenting with them, except in scrims, and they're just showing literally nothing all year. Because like we mentioned, Broxah has played 4 junglers all year long.
Hey man, he's undefeated on Lee Sin.
He's undefeated on Lee Sin, so I might as well keep picking
He
it.
only has 1 loss all year on Lee Sin.
He's literally lost 1 game.
There's no counterplay, dude. And Huni's out of playoffs now. There's no like GP or Rumble.
Yeah.
To counteract the Broxah Lee Sin.
I guess. I mean, he's literally played Broxah has played.
He's played Broxah.
He's played Broxah. He played Lee Sin,
the ultimate
Trundle,
champion.
Graves, and I'm forgetting the 4th one, but no, it's not u.gg. We're not
Trundle.
No, I said Trundle. It's
okay.
Trundle, Graves, Lee Sin, and Volibear. Yeah, Volibear.
Oh, that's right. I was like, what's the other? What's the other jungler? I think it's an ice guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the bear.
Yeah.
What's the other boring ass jungler that doesn't do anything?
Yeah, he does. Like he's played 4 Impact. Let's just screw it.
Man, you would think that Broxah would be good on Nidalee with how often he doesn't do anything farm.
Yeah, Impact has.
If he's out farming at Graves as Lee Sin, you think he'd be smashing.
Yeah, but so Impact, for example, by the way, has 7 champions, but 13 of his games on Mordekaiser Ornn and 3 on Shen, which that's more relevant recently. So he's really kind of a 3-trick. Just like Brox is a 4-trick, he's kind of a 3-trick here. Jensen has pretty much only been a Azir and LeBlanc. I guess there's been a little bit of Twisted Fate, 2 games of Syndra, but it's mostly Azir and LeBlanc. By the way, 100% win rate on both of them. But
did he never play Orianna?
He played 1 game of Orianna at this.
Okay, because I was saying that'd be really surprising if he didn't play 1.
Yeah,
because Orianna's he's always had a pretty historically good Orianna, just like he's had a historically good LeBlanc.
Tactical.
It's literally pretty much just Jensen comfort champions: Azir, Orianna, LeBlanc.
Yeah, and it's like
it's the meta.
Tactical has 3 champions. You're not gonna pick Aphelios anymore since he got gutted. So it's essentially Ezreal, Ashe, and he can throw a Kalista in there. Like all of Team Liquid has only really shown like 3 champions each. Bard, Thresh, Blitzcrank. Like that's it.
That was the big stat for Team Liquid, was the lowest champion diversity of any team.
Yeah, like
and just to comment on the comment that's in the chat right now is Broxah spamming Lilia and solo queue. Yeah, well, I'll say this as well. Blabber for the longest time was spamming Camille jungle in solo queue, and that was like before the FlyQuest series. It didn't really matter.
That's weird because she is not a good jungler. They gutted that jungle right after Ning won Worlds.
They're working on the flex, man.
Right after Ning won Worlds, they killed.
They're working on the Camille flex. Jungle top.
Oh,
well, Niski was also spamming freaking Sylas, and that dude has not played Sylas once all year, and I'm very upset.
So my point is, I have faith that if Team Liquid gets in a situation where they're losing, they can pick other things. I'm hoping they don't only have 3 team comps that they can only run all year, and I'm just hoping that they've had.
But what if they do?
That's you will never know until it happens.
What if they're rogue, Will? What if they're rogue?
They are rogue. That's the worry.
The whole time.
Well, that's the thing. I want to see if Team Liquid gets in a situation like Rogue did and they start losing, do they adapt and change something? Rogue. We'll talk about that real soon.
We're starting.
We're
starting, Raptor.
Real soon.
We're getting there. Trust me, we're getting there.
All right. What's your prediction so we can move on to that? Move on to you.
My prediction. I have it 3-1 FlyQuest.
Okay. I like it.
I'll give Team Liquid one game, kind of like the same game that C9 got on FlyQuest. But I think if FlyQuest comes out, Santorin with a great early game plan, the team just looks like Team Liquid, but somehow cleaner, more proactive, and less prone to having to rely on enemy mistakes to win.
I have a question. I'm raising my hand. What if Team Liquid? What if Team Liquid picks Brox's Lee Sin?
Santorin breaks out Rek'Sai.
And Broxton wins because Lee Sin's undefeated.
It's hard. No, it's just a hard It's just a hard counter.
Santorin's Rek'Sai is actually really good. Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago, where Santorin's Rek'Sai
he breaks out the Trundle, just throws a pillar up every time he tries to Q somebody.
Man.
Hey man, that's the battle. It's Brox's Lee Sin versus Santorin's Trundle.
Yeah, I think I totally am fine with that prediction. I think if Team Liquid ends up being like Rogue and they don't have anything else, I think they're gonna end up as the 3rd seed probably in NA.
And here's the thing, I say FlyQuest 3-1 because again it feels like it comes down to them playing super well as a team, all their individual pieces being really good and also decent, and their playstyle being a good matchup into Team Liquid.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, just bring in that X factor of actually showing proactive early game plans. So the fact that you could idea of like a FlyQuest taking an early lead and then also being a late game team, that just seems really strong, and it runs counter to what Team Liquid does. That said, I have a really bad habit of cursing teams that I start to believe in after not believing in them.
Absolutely.
So this will probably be a Team Liquid 3-0.
If it's a Team Liquid 3-0, do we just talk about how Team Liquid is the best team in NA then at that point?
No, I just talk about how the rest of NA is fucking garbage.
They just do the slow moving. They'd be at 21 wins. They'd be 21-3 on the season. Like
we're just gonna continue. No, the entire podcast after that is just gonna be like, man, North America is giga doomed at Worlds.
Yeah.
Just actually doomed.
Oh.
It's just done. It's legitimately donezo. You might as well just send Team Liquid to the freaking gulag of play-ins.
God, I was just thinking how important, by the way, is a 1 seed. We'll talk way more about this on a later podcast. But the 1
World's
seed
preview podcast.
This is a hypothetical. Top esports and G2 win their respective regions. Even JDG and G2 doesn't really matter between those two in the LPL, to be honest. But there is a very big possibility that you would get G2 and top or G2 and JDG in the same group as you. And I don't think anyone wants that group. I really don't think anyone wants.
With Worlds format this year, with freaking EU and LPL getting an additional seed each, and then also still having 3 Korean teams, which I mean, to be fair, from what we've seen, not too impressive, but the fact that they still are there, and you're talking about a team like T1 that's on the rise, kind of scary. A Gen G that's playing fast, that might be kind of scary too.
Damwon.
So,
by the way, you could get rid of.
Damwon goes without saying. I'm talking about the ones that people made questioning because we talk about Damwon too much on this cast. But Damwon's good, by the way. For anyone who's not familiar, Damwon's really good.
You can remove G2 from that and also you could have Damwon in top in the same bracket. What is the point of the other 2 teams in that bracket or that group, by the way, if you have Damwon in top in the same one? Oh, come on.
Oh my god. But yeah, just my point on
just
that
go home.
is like
just go home.
The ability for the fact that we could literally have 3/4 of the world's group stages all be groups of death is hilarious.
It's pretty much
it's the ultimate shell game where only one group is good.
Yeah, we're literally going to be talking. The group from NA first seed is going to be the easiest group just because it's NA's first seed. In a hypothetical that Damwon and G2 finish off, because China's already set. They're 1 and 2. Both of them are the 2 best teams in the world outside of Damwon. And like that's completely set in stone already. So as long as Damwon and G2 don't choke the playoffs, it's gonna be terrifying. There's not a group you want to be in at that point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
At some point, you just gotta play them. You just gotta play the games.
I mean, do you? If it, like I said, if it's Damwon and JDG or Damwon and Top, do you really need to go play the games?
I mean, you could try.
You can try your best. You're gonna look like a wild card team.
I mean, here's the thing, dude. Once upon a time,
Hey,
FunPlus Phoenix were nearly undefeated in the LPL, and they smashed the hell out of playoffs. Then they almost lost in group stages.
that is true. All right.
Things can happen, man.
All right. You're right.
Especially with a short turnaround between LCK, the end of LCK playoffs when all the teams are actually qualified, and the big start of Worlds this year. It's possible.
Okay. Let's move on to EU. That was a long podcast section for LCS.
Oh Jesus!
It's probably not going to be too short either.
Raptor's apparently been preparing for this moment in chat because he has a wall of text prepared.
Yeah. All right. So while he's typing that chat, or he's probably just copy pasting it. The games this week, SO4. My gut was wrong, and I'm so happy. SO4 3-0'd SK, wasn't even close.
Yes.
They didn't miss a beat from the cooldown, and that put them so far up in my list of good teams because I was like, was it just pure adrenaline carrying them this whole time? They just looked amazing, but will it fall off at the end of the day? Didn't miss a single beat, and that's what I really wanted to see. G2 3-0's Mad Lions. Mad Lions actually looked pretty decent in that series, I thought. That's a very disrespectful 3-0. If you're looking at the scoreline, that series was much closer than I thought. Outside of Game 1 was complete trash. And then Rogue versus Fnatic. We both said Rogue would 3-0 them. Whoops.
Oh my god.
All right.
That's the second time in the same week when we were wrong about a 3-0 prediction.
All right, now let me read this.
And it hurt us both. It hurt us both ways because we'll discuss the implications.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Hurt me as a C9 fan in the FlyQuest series, but it hurts other things.
Oh yeah. All right. Raptor says Friday. SK versus SO4. I think overall we got expected results. The SO4 squad have looked really hot lately, and Scrim God Abed just keeps showing up. It's a bit hard to say much about this series because SO4 really just kept playing the same style that worked for them so far, and SK just couldn't contest them with their players on solo lanes. It's interesting to note how Hecarim became such a meta pick, so we'll see how much prio he gets for the remainder of the playoffs. Hecarim also had
I agree with that.
30 kills in my custom game.
I feel like Gilius is, by the way, Gilius is a machine.
Yeah.
For anyone who isn't familiar with that, look into the mic checks for SO4 on YouTube. Actually, very entertaining.
Oh.
Gilius is a machine, by the way. Just yet going on with that, SK was a fairly easy opponent. I give props to Gen X and Zazie. They were rookies, and getting to playoffs is a huge accomplishment. Considering that, another shout out to Crownie. By the way, SK and XL were basically twin teams. Difference from me is that I'd rate Patrick a bit higher since he dragged worst teammates to 7th place. Special. Sorry, it was special. I'd expect this team to drop Trick and possibly Limit, but the other 3 core of the offseason could be solid. That's also a fair point.
And then he said, SO4 is on a 10-game win streak now, and while I'm impressed with their players' forms, one has to wonder if they keep one-tricking a style, will they get rolled just as much as Rogar, or are the players just in too good a form right now? Don't start ranting on Rogue yet. Save it for last. Okay.
No, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll get there.
Yeah. So SO4, fantastic.
I'll say, yeah. Schalke no fear looked super good, and they're exactly. This is exactly what I wanted to see from them.
Okay. And
solid drafting, and just amazing execution.
And
literally playing both an early game, it's like smash early and snowball style, but also just showing a lot of resilience in like the mid to late game as well, which is really good to see.
I also want to talk about game 1 with the lane swap by SK, and it looked. I was talking to Raptor while this was happening. It looked
I didn't want to bring it up, man.
Terrible, but I loved every minute of it. I thought it was genius by SK. It was fantastic on the fly adapting that SO4 did. on top of it to make it look worse, in my opinion. I thought that like pushing Jinx and Morgana to the top lane, you forced Odo on Renekton to back and like go to the bot lane, and then you had Gen X and Trick just clearing super quickly, trying to get Lilia's clear as fast as possible to try and get some ganks off before Hecarim can. And you're also getting at the point, I think it was like 8 minutes into the game or something absurd. Maybe not 8. Maybe it was like 4 or 5 minutes into the game. But like Gen X and Odo both had 0 farm at the same time. That is a significant benefit to stop Renekton. If he's that useless in the early game, that's that fall off we were talking about earlier. That he's really gonna fall, especially because you're building full tank on Volibear here with the Sunfire and the Righteous Glory. Unfortunately for SK, I thought it was a really good game plan. It looked like SO4's adaptation on the fly was amazing. Gilius and Odo and Abaddon, like all of them moving at the same time and like just completely adapting basically the entire time was remarkable to see. It blew me away. That's what really sold me. At that point, I'm like, this team is 100% legit. I already believed in them, but it was like, okay, I'm fully on board with this team. Just is almost like seeing the Victory 5 play perfectly with the Nidalee like Renekton team comp, and then they had something else I forgot. They had like all early game and they just straight up dominated with it, and that was like the selling point. Like, okay, this is for real. This was the game that sold me 100% on SO4, no matter what, for the rest of the year.
I will say as well, like just in regards to the quick adaptation from SO4 in response to the lane swap. Apparently it was again insight judged from the mic check. Odo Omne was a big part in basically being the mastermind behind his team's quick response to that. He basically took like full control over the team comp.
Yeah,
and he admitted as much in like the post game interview as well. And the LEC Twitter account, they sent out a very special reply to that as well. And I actually sent it in the general chat of Discord.
Did you?
Well, if you want to take a look.
You're at Soto, the 5-head of the series. Oh, it's an amazing picture.
Yep, it's actually amazing. But yeah, he was definitely like, apparently he was just super big brain on that play. So
yeah,
and that's what you'd like to see. It's not just like one trigger style. It's literally 5 players who actually have who have like just a spark and momentum, but also just intelligence and how they need to play the game, and just veteran leadership as well.
Yep.
So it's really great to see, especially from a team that was dead in the water just a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. And I actually did like Jinx. I know she didn't get anything done this game, but like I like Jinx as a pick. I think she's underutilized because she is a counter to Caitlyn, by the way. She's one of the other ones besides for Ashe. If Ashe gets banned and they ban Caitlyn, or if they don't ban Caitlyn and you're not comfortable on Caitlyn for whatever reason, C9. I don't know why. but apparently this is a option for you guys. On Jinx, she really does counter her hard with the rocket range. So I've been expecting.
I will say early lane though, Caitlyn just still runs a train on Jinx, which is unfortunate because the mana issues that she could do if she tries to spam her rocket.
Yeah, that is fair. But it's
just... and the idea that Caitlyn like normally doesn't have as much of a mid to late game trough, and Jinx takes a lot longer to actually scale herself into a late game snare. Plus, I think removing the interaction from Runons with her,
yeah, that
as like a team fight hyper carry.
That did hurt a bit, but
she's still an option though, for sure.
I was glad to see her at least because she's completely off the radar.
Yeah, I will say the comment I wanted to make too as well is essentially Shulko one tricking a style, and whether or not that's enough to get them going. I think it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's definitely fair. I think it's definitely fine.
All right, team,
and I think but it's like well, yeah, that's beside the. It's that's more like the old school TSM where it's like they don't do anything, but the enemy team just sucks so bad that they just win.
True.
Yeah, or also old Team Liquid, I guess, but maybe even Spring C9. But I think Spring C9 at least were proactive about beating their ass.
That's true.
But I will say, one tricky style, especially in this meta, is I wouldn't say it's optimal necessarily, but I feel like it's just the meta right now. Like it's like there's nothing at all wrong with how they're playing the game. not even remotely. If anything, it's probably one of the best ways to play the game. And if anything, finding that one style that works for you, and the style they found is basically early aggression, objective control, looking for counter picks and strong lane matchups that scale into a strong 5v5 team fight, or be able to pull off like good skirmishing around the map. That's just the meta. And if you can play the meta and do so with multiple different picks, that's fine. That's been enough to win people world championships. I mean, that's been a big criticism I had about C9 attempting to branch out too much from their expected style. It's good if you want to talk long term, and if the meta and the game state changes between patches, and I can understand that. But as it stands right now, and even for the foreseeable future, it's probably this style is probably going to be the thing, and it's been this way for 2 years now.
I know. I think it's a totally fine style, and I'm actually very curious because I said it was a 3-0 for G2, by the way. I'm mistaken. It was actually a 3-1. I forgot. I did forget that Mad Lions actually did win.
Not all of the games were 3-0s this past week.
Listen, there was a lot of 3-0s again. I got them confused. But speaking of G2 and Mad Lions, G2 started 2-0, and then Mad finally pulled it back in the third game to win it. But like, I didn't think Mad played that bad actually all season, all series. And I think perfect.
It was a huge step up from how they were slumping.
Yes,
especially
yes.
The later
It
part
looks
of the season.
bad because they lost, and you're like, oh, they're slumping still. But really, their drafts were good. Their execution was decent. There were a few like mistakes here and there, but you're facing G2 in a best of 5. You're gonna make.
It literally felt. Yeah, it felt like Mad had jumped back. They actually had really good drafts.
Yeah, really, really.
But
good
it's
drafts.
but the other thing is that what we expected and what we hoped for, just like with the Schalke series, we finally got to see a more and more of a glimmer of old G2.
Yep, and
classic G2, where even if G2 are getting out drafted, they find ways to play into the enemy team comp and find ways to win.
Yeah, and that's why I love this. This is why I had in my preseason, I had G2 as the best non-Chinese team in the entire world. And I kept it there in my mind for quite a while. I thought they always had potential to it. It's going to take a choke from Damwon for them to recover that title. But if Damwon does choke, I can see G2 doing that. If they don't, I think Damwon is better. But
like G2 still have proving because it was again one series.
It was one, but
it was a damn good series. It was probably one of the best of 5s we had this past week.
Yeah. All right. What did Raptor say here? He had mentioned he's got some more copy pasta. We'll split it up.
Yeah, it says Saturday G2 Mad. I know I'm a G2 fan. This is Raptor, by the way. He's the resident G2 fan. But I've been telling for a while that playoffs this team is going to start bending the others. Wunder and Caps are easily the best solo lanes in the league. Don't you bring up, but my Alphari, when you saw with your own eyes playoffs, Wunder. That's a fair point. I mean, Alphari's you get to see Alphari in playoffs, so checkmate.
Yeah.
And it seems like either G2 scrimmed a lot lately, or Perks has found some peace of mind for himself because he's been playing his best this summer for sure.
And then he mentioned, I think after this series, everyone can safely assume G2 will grab their 4th title in a row. As for the G2 games, I like most of the drafts. Wunder busting out GP Shen, which we haven't really seen from him so far. And Nico out of nowhere just shows he's keeping up with meta, but also has some pocket picks left. Mickey is a support god again, and Jankos, besides that league game, is showcasing that he's either the best or second best jungler. I love the aggression from the boys through the series. I also agree. I also want to say that even though Perks did look really good, man, Caps. It's all about Caps. I don't know if you mentioned the final one.
Yeah. Well, he said that. He did say Wunder and Caps are easily the best solo lanes in the league. And that's true. For Caps especially, it's been true pretty much all split.
Yeah.
Like actual 1v9, and now he has a team.
Yeah.
It's like he went through the night. It's like he went through like the night career, but in one split. But and it finally he says, as for Mad, really huge props to them because they went out swinging. Honestly, I think they might have been the hardest opponent for G2, and wouldn't be surprised if they were to meet G2 in the finals. Really nice combo drafts. They simply got outplayed in team fights. Well, a Rome Camille, I'm not sold on, but whatever.
That's fair. Also, Camille is not a great team fighter in the first place, so yeah. It was a gone.
That's not her strength. I mean, it's a similar deal to like Fiora or Jax. It's
Well-
kind of like the downward trend. Like Camille, it's like probably the best team fighter of the split pushers.
Disagree.
Then Jax, and then Fiora is the
Fiora
worst.
is worse. I agree with that part. Jax is the best because I fucking hate Jax. I hate that champion with a
That's some
passion.
expert analysis, Will. I hate Jax, therefore he's the best at team fighting.
He's literally so good at everything, I feel like. I don't care if he's only split push. The stupid block, then he just jumps onto your carry while you can't do any damage to him, or we can't do any auto damage to him because he's freaking blocking
Hey man,
it.
you know what else you can't do you know what else you can't do any damage to somebody in?
Camille's
Freaking
ult.
Camille in the middle of her ultimate.
True.
In the middle of her ultimate.
You can, yeah, but he just jumps in and just he kills faster than Camille does, and even though they have basically the same exact kit, you do the jump, you do the stun, you do the auto attacks, you kill. I feel like he just kills faster than Camille.
Hey man, you know what build actually burst faster than regular Jax? AP Jax.
No,
Where he goes Gunblade. into
I have
AP.
seen Gunplay actually. I've seen Gunblade into AD. I have not seen it into full AP.
Well, I mean, yeah, I remember like once upon a time it was a debate of whether you start Gunblade first or Blade the Ruin King first. It was probably like metas ago, like probably like years ago.
Yeah.
Now, but that was like a thing where Jax, I think it was like right when the Gunblade got reworked a little bit, retooled. So people were actually building like Gunblade on Jax instead of Blade the Ruin King,
I just
and
can't.
working with his AP ratios, which I still think is probably one of the better ones.
Yeah,
But
it's
I think
literally.
since they buffed Blade the Ruin King, Blade the Ruin King is just objectively better.
Mhm.
Now.
Jax is in a top 3 of my least favorite champions in the game. I hate that man.
Man, I like
so
Jax. Jax was like one of my favorite champions from old school, but I loved him literally because his lore was
His
hilarious.
lore is hilarious.
His old lore was actually hilarious. He was so strong in the old League of Legends that the people who ran the League of Legends at Summoner's Rift actually nerfed him and said he couldn't use weapons. So he grabbed a lamppost and was beating the shit out of people anyway.
It's awesome. I love
That was his old lore basically.
Yep.
They changed it since then, but that was his old lore was hilarious, and I loved it.
All right.
Jackson Hecarim are two of my favorite champions of all time in League of Legends.
All right.
You can tell what kind of player I am.
Let's talk about
A top main who's slightly less toxic than Hashinshin.
Hopefully you're better morally as well.
I didn't want to mention that, but thanks, Will.
No problem.
I would hope you would assume so. As a nurse, I would hope so.
I do. Alrighty. Fnatic versus Rogue, our favorite series that we want to talk about.
Oh Jesus!
This hurt. I don't even care. I don't like Rogue as a Team Liquid fan. That sounds very hypocritical. I get it, but it's whatever. It's my team. I don't care.
I don't like Rogue. They're basically us, but European.
Exactly. I don't like Rogue in the sense that I also think Europe is a better region than NA and has a lot more punishing teams than NA does. So you can't get away with it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this best of one season because G2 was a mess for 60% of the season. Fnatic was a mess for 100% of the season. Mad Lions fell off for the last 33% of the season. SO4 were a mess for 75% of the season. Like, it was like everything wasn't good in EU. Everything was a mess constantly. So, Rogue kind of got away with just being very steady, very calm, very steady. But you notice in every single coach, every single player that they talk to, the analysts, I get that's their job, and the shoutcasters always tried to hype them up as these are the new kings of Europe and stuff like that. Or you gotta look at Rogue as like everyone says they're bad, but they're still winning. Which, to be fair, is true. They were winning, but
Team Liquid.
yeah, but. Unlike Team Liquid came into their best of 5 and stomped it. Rogue came into the best of 5 and did
Stomped it.
stomped it.
Tactical
the other way.
Core JJ getting duo killed in lane. Stomped it.
To be fair, The rest of the lanes were doing good. But FBI, that's FBI and Hui, man. Also, I would have said coming before the series that Golden Guardians was a much tougher opponent than Fnatic coming into the series. We don't know if playoff Fnatic is a different thing. They did actually look much better. But coming in, I would have absolutely said Golden Guardians is better than Fnatic, looking at regular season alone. And then, Rogue didn't adapt at all. Let's see what Raptor has to say with his massive copy pasta.
Starting off, Sunday, Rogue Fnatic. Now, this is the most interesting series in round one. Not only did Fnatic win, but they did so by absolutely ass-blasting Rogue, which gives red flags to me for both teams. Actually, let's start with Rogue. They went from one of the best early game teams to this, and their inability to adapt their solo lane picks raises eyebrows. Not sure if it's a coach decision or the players themselves are this limited, but having your mid laner being a Azir Corki 2-trick and your top lane a GP Renekton 2-trick is a fast and easy way to get abused in a series. Feels like Vander and Hans did okay, but the top side never looked worse. And seeing this as an EU fan is really sad, to be honest. Maybe they can show something in the next BO5, but if they get 0-6 in playoffs, I have literally nothing but salt towards this team.
And now about Fnatic. Now you may wonder why I'm not sold on Fnatic if they just hard dumpstered the first seed team. The problem starts with the regular season because this team, for no apparent reason, just mental boomed themselves for the entire split and basically got into playoffs by the grace of Misfits and Crownshot, turbo throwing them games away. And anyways, point is they didn't look good at all. I think it was a fair assessment that Rogue coming into playoffs would beat the Fnatic team. Yes, and I agree with that because I think Rogue would absolutely smash a team that makes a lot of mistakes because Rogue, weirdly enough, similar to Team Liquid, capitalized on a lot of mistakes. Fnatic was making a ton of mistakes, but it seems like Fnatic found very good ways to shore up their weaknesses, and those being the solo lanes, being absolutely terrible. And it may be hindsight, but Fnatic's best matchup was probably Rogue, since they knew what Rogue's solo lane's prio was and simply picked champions that beat them in lane and have permanent priority. They let Selfmade be the true carry finally. Well, that's a step in the right direction.
But they could only show this Evelynn card once. Yeah, by the way, Selfmade did pop out the Evelynn as well. That was recently buffed on this patch.
Super Giga broken, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeesh. The cooldown of the hate spike is actually stupid. But what? Yeah. You can only show the Evelynn card once, and I'm sure the other teams will either ban her or have strats to counter Eve comps. As for the Fnatic solo lanes, they literally just put Whippo on tanks and Nemesis on Lucian just to make sure they don't Giga int as they mostly do. And well, props to them because prepping for a series is just as crucial in playoffs as the players' forms. If G2 murders the squad 3-0 in the upcoming matchup, that will just mean I was right. And Raptor in this case was right. And Fnatic was only good in prepping against Rogue and not being on form. They literally haven't shown they are good all summer, let's be honest. Which is why I'm sad. I would want our teams to be decent at Worlds. This Sunday series just showed me how terrible Rogue could be, and a quick Fnatic 3-0 off Evelynn and a decent prep is not the same as being a good team all around. That's basically a fair assessment.
I agree with almost all of what Raptor said. The most depressing thing is that we didn't mention this yet, but now Mad and SO4 have to play each other. I thought Mad looked fantastic against G2, and SO4 has looked like one of the best teams in the world lately. And one of them is not going to Worlds no matter what now. And instead, you get Rogue, who can literally, by sealing that first place, sealed Worlds, they could go to Worlds winning one best-of-5 series all year round. They beat Misfits in the bottom of the loser bracket in spring, immediately lost 3-1 to Origin in the second round. If they get 3-0'd by Fnatic and then 3-0'd by the winner of Mad SO4, which, to be honest, either one of them, I think, beats them in a best-of-5. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-0, but either one of those teams is going to probably beat Rogue. We're going to have a team that's 1-3 with possibly just one good series against a Misfits team that was very young, very fresh. Obviously, Rogue is still very young as well, to be honest.
And they were mental boom as shit. By the time playoffs rolled around. By the time playoffs came around in spring.
Yes, so that's bad. On top of that, so that would be your fourth seed, by the way, is Rogue. Not a good look for EU. On top of that, if it is true what Raptor said, and I don't know it, he doesn't know it yet, none of us know it yet. But if it really was just pure planning and execution by Fnatic, and G2 comes in and Giga stops them 3-0, and just like Fnatic looks like the Fnatic we've seen all year round, it doesn't matter. They're in Worlds already. So now, not only do you have a struggling Rogue team, you have a very inconsistent, very not great team in Fnatic there as well. That's 2 of your 4 seeds in Europe now, no matter what.
Yep. For anyone who may be watching is not familiar with the playoff and world seeding format for Europe, essentially, because of Rogue and G2 being placed in the as high as they are in the winners bracket, Rogue specifically being number 1 in the regular season, the loser bracket basically works as like a pseudo gauntlet, it's basically a replacement for the regional gauntlet. Mad winning their match against Schalke, they move on to the next round. Schalke beating SK moves on to the next round. Mad because they lost to G2, and then Rogue also lost to Fnatic. Rogue, because they are the higher seeded team, they get the higher seed in the loser bracket. So while G2 and Fnatic play each other to go to the grand finals, that means Rogue is now guaranteed a top 4 finish. Yep. So, literally, if Fnatic had lost, and Rogue had gone on, then Fnatic would be in Mad Lion's spot, and they would be playing Schalke, and they would be playing Schalke in the next round.
And Mad would steal Worlds.
And Mad would have been in Rogue's spot higher in the bracket, and they would have been qualified for Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands right now, Fnatic is since they do play in the winners bracket finals, they're guaranteed at least a top 4 spot because the LEC is sending 4 teams to Worlds, and Mad and Schalke are now playing for the last playoff spot as well.
Yeah.
Like Raptor said, they're guaranteed at least top 3. But I meant just in terms of like playoff, in terms of world seeding, they're at least they're guaranteed that top 4 just by winning the series.
Yep,
if they had lost, they would have been guaranteed it because they could have lost the series and been out of world's contention.
Yep.
So unfortunately, it's one of those things where, like Will said, we're talking about a Fnatic team that could have just had a really good day. Rogue could have had a bad day. Fnatic come in just with really good prep and game planning. Maybe if we're talking about like one tricking a strategy, Fnatic could have possibly just one tricked an entire comp and just ran that as a band-aid strat to fix their issues. Maybe they just show up and they're in really good form. Who knows? Hard to tell. It's a similar thing with like FlyQuest versus C9 in North America. How much of that was just FlyQuest prepping super well against C9 and C9 just completely shitting the bed on the day? Hard to tell. But as it stands, unfortunately, one of either Mad Lions or Schalke 04 will actually not make Worlds. And the winner of that is qualified, and they're guaranteed the top 4. We'll play Rogue in the following round. Their road will end. It'll either be Mad Lions, who are first place for the majority of Summer Split, or Schalke 04 with their 10 game winning streak on the way that made playoffs after having 0 wins.
All right. I have a little question for you. Like, go back in your life. Think about your life here. Go back all the way to July 23rd, 2020. If we were doing the podcast on Sunday on the normal time, it'd be exactly to the date, 1 month difference between that day and now. In a full month. If I would have told you just exactly 1 month ago that it is very, very possible that C9 at the time, let me pull it up, and Mad Lions miss playoffs, you would think I am a crazy person, because this is coming off of C9 losing to Evil Geniuses but beating FlyQuest. So, this was before they started slumping. Did they lose to yeah, so they were still, C9 was 10-2 at that point, so that was fine. They were 10-2. Mad would have been, I don't even know. We're just gonna say hi. On top of that, I say SO4 makes Worlds, who are at the time 0-8 or 1-10. Sorry. You would think I need to go to a mental asylum, and that is in the possibility this weekend.
Yeah, it's insanely possible. It's frighteningly possible.
It's
but
frightening. It's
it
not
it
like a miracle. It is like almost a 50% chance.
it is almost legitimately reality right now. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. Like Mad
Yeah.
we had Mad all the way up to like 6th or like 7th in our power rankings. ESPN had him 2nd at one point in their power rankings for the world.
Yeah, and they can legitimately miss worlds now.
And they can miss. Same with C9. I was saying how if C9 wasn't playing in NA the way they played in spring and then starting 9-0, I was saying they're a top 4, top 5 team in the world at the moment. They can miss worlds. On top of that, SO4 we were making fun of for being just as bad as CLG.
Yeah. Not to mention this was still the Mad Lions team that even in spring upset G2.
Mhm.
Like actually had a decent run in playoffs despite being literally a brand new roster. That's like that's actually huge. And now they can literally and they were in first place for literally for basically all of the regular season in summer, and then they could have lose here. Meanwhile, you have Rogue, and this again going off the points of like why no one was really convinced with Rogue as a team as like a top threat in Europe. Think back to the entirety of the regular season with Rogue. How many times Rogue could have been the #1 seed and not tied with Mad Lions on the weekend? How many times they would just randomly throw games?
All the time.
Mad Lions would throw games too, and they would have like really bad showings, and then like they would lose, or they could have beat Mad Lions at one point during the regular season, but then they would lose. But then they would somehow always end up weeks tied, literally until the end of the split. Like literally the last week on the Super Week was the first time Rogue they beat Mad Lions and they finally they finally clinched #1.
And
after 18 games and 9 weeks and a break week. Well, 8 weeks and a break, whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But that essentially 18 games, they finally clinched #1. It is sole possession of first place, and the first thing they do, they turn right back into spring playoffs Rogue, and they look like shit.
And this is why I got some disagreement from Damon, I remember, for this one, but this is why I legitimately think, and I know I'm in the minority here, that Team Liquid is better than Rogue at the same style that they play. They are just more consistent.
You're not that much in the minority. I think they're roughly equivalent to each other.
Okay, like I think they're the same style. Team Liquid's more consistent.
I think the fact that Impact plays more champions than Finn is hilarious.
Shocking, considering we just mentioned he plays 3 champions.
It's actually kind of it's kind of hilarious how similar they are though.
Mm-hmm.
You have like Impact and Finn are kind of just known for like their champions. Inspired and Brox, I feel like they almost never really impact the game early, and they're just kind of there most of the time. You have Larson and Jensen, who are both pretty good carries.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Jensen, I would actually argue he's probably better than Larson, just based on volume of different champions play. And he plays them all about as good as Larson plays his 2 champions.
I will give Larson the benefit of doubt for going against EU mids all year, though.
That's fine. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you mean Jensen plays in an A. He plays against a lot of EU mids too.
Fair enough.
So then you have the other side. You have like Hansama and Vander, who are a solid, pretty good bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tactical and Core JJ, also solid, good bot lane.
Yeah, they're almost identical.
They basically match. And then they play the exact. They have almost incredibly similar players, and play almost the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And they both ended up first place. And again, coming down to the fact that it's like literally, it's never a matter of, oh well, this is like TL domination. They're right back in form after a hiccup in spring. It's literally like, oh, Team Liquid was in first, and I mean, they're winning. You can't really argue that they're probably the best right now.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see. Like maybe FlyQuest will finally be the one to do what Fnatic did to Rogue and pressure them on that. And if Team Liquid can adapt, then okay, then they're probably equal to Rogue, or Rogue might be better. But until I see Team Liquid choke on the exact same style that Rogue has choked multiple times on now, I gotta give them the edge. It's the same team.
And again,
keeps choking
that is the difference when it comes down to it. Your most experienced member on this team on Rogue are Hansama and Vander.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Whereas on Team Liquid, you have Impact, Core JJ, Jensen, and Broxa. Guys who are like literally 2 world champions, multiple time regional champions,
World
and
finalist.
one finalist, and then you have like essentially like a finals, semifinals, and world championships, MSI finals. Like
Yeah.
these are players with a shitload of experience.
That's
These are players that aren't going to just completely blow it in playoffs. Rogue.
I mean, I didn't even think about that. That's probably the point right there. Is the experience on Team Liquid compared to inexperience on Rogue.
You could call like That's the difference. It's like you can give like mechanical edges to the Rogue players. But like when the team play is different and the play style is basically the same, and you're essentially talking about two teams that like to go to late game and out execute on team fights and on mistakes. The team with better leadership and intelligent play and shot calling, they're probably the better team for doing that. And it's not a Rogue.
Yeah, and I mean, and also before we get into like, NA is just as good as EU, I also think G2, Mad, and S4 are all better than Team Liquid, by the way. So it really sucks that if Team Liquid ends up as the first seed for NA, we're losing someone that's better than a first seed at NA in EU before Worlds. Like, that's what sucks about this.
Sure.
And like
current form without question,
yep.
those 2 teams are all better.
Yep.
If you think otherwise, you're a homer. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the games. Let's just sadly pick this game. We're gonna have one of these seasons come to an end. Let's start with Mad versus SO4, as that is the game that starts it. Do you want to go first or me?
I can go first. This is actually rough.
It's hard. It's a very hard one.
Yeah, because it was another one of those issues. I wouldn't say it was necessarily my gut. It was but it was a similar thing to like the C9 TSM series where I'm just like, I just like not be able to shake the feeling that's like, man, I feel like freaking TSM is probably gonna win. And it's like, but it's never like that hard feeling in your gut that it's gonna happen, but it's just a fear that it's gonna happen. That's how I feel about Mad Lions beating Schalke. But I have Schalke beating Mad.
Okay.
Just like I have C9 beating TSM.
Okay. I have the opposite feeling. I'm sad because I've loved Mad Lions since spring. Like since the very beginning of spring, I was like, these guys are cool. Like brand rookie team. We were like, oh, this Carzzy guy, he could be legit. He was like Shadow. We didn't necessarily know too much about Shadow at the time, but we're like, he could be cool, and he was amazing. And then Kaiser set up into his role as well, and it's just we were thinking. I believe Ryan probably disconnected there. Yeah, he's coming back now. But I believe we were thinking that Humanoid was going to be the carry and help all of these rookies out, and turns out not the case whatsoever. Humanoid's like the weakest link on the team with all the rookies carrying him. And
Humanoid is inting again.
In defense of Humanoid, he did ent a few times more recently, but he had a much better split than he's had previously. Like much better. Sure. This was a very good
but he kind of pulled a Rogue in this series. Where he did. Reverted back into,
and not
back
just
into,
this
like,
series, like the last 2 weeks, like the last 2 weeks before the series as well. But that being said,
Abadage is stealing his power.
I do think SO4 wins, but like I just feel bad because like losing this Mad Lions team that I've been so hyped for since the beginning of spring, basically. Oh, it sucks to feel that way.
It sucks. It sucks no matter what. Because I'm a huge fan of the Mad Lions, and I'm all aboard the freaking Schalke hype train. Mm-hmm. And it sucks so bad that one of these teams has to go.
Yeah.
That one of these teams can't play at Worlds. I want it so bad. I believe in Schalke. I think their form is just kind of insane. We're a super resilient team. They understand exactly what they want to do to play, but I think that they will just win. And by the way, I do actually have this as a 5-game series.
Me too.
I'm having it as a 3-2 for Schalke.
Me too.
But it's just one of the weird shaky feelings where it's like I feel like this could also just be a Mad 3. Because I feel like it could just be a Mad 3-0. Like all it takes is like one. Like it'll take like one bad game, and like Schalke may play well in all 3 games. Like they won't just mental boom after like a loss or something. Like they won't just get crushed and then just play like shit, and then they're like back to 0-win Schalke. But I feel like I just can't shake the feeling that it's just going to end up like Matt's just going to barely scrape by with 3 wins, and just like that, the miracle runs over.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Not with a bang, but with a whimper, and it feels bad.
And that's a good point that you bring up with SO4. I guess that's the last true test we really need to see from them, to see them almost as world contenders, which sounds so insane to me, as I said like a month ago. But how they bounce back from a loss, because we have not seen that yet on this run. They haven't lost. They couldn't actually do that if they wanted to keep
couldn't afford to lose.
They couldn't afford it.
We're too angry to lose.
Yeah, but we need to see if when they do lose at some point, how they can bounce back from it. But yeah, I think we're both thinking SO4-3-2. I hope it's a fantastic best of 5, so at least we get to see 5 great games from Mad before we ship them out.
Let's go out with a bang with one of these teams. Let's be proud.
Let's
get
whoever
we send.
Let's get that game 5 from Golden Guardians team TSM, but just like 10 times the skill level, you know?
Yeah. But that's one of those funny things. Is like now I'm thinking of like the TSM versus Golden Guardian series. Like, man, I could see a Rome doing something like that on Renekton.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of nuts. But and just kind of going off on the point, it's kind of funny that it's two loser bracket matches that I'm by far the most invested in, and they're both elimination matches.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Mad Lions Schalke series and the C9 TSM series.
Yeah, it's gonna be
the teams that aren't even like you're talking about like we're talking about like G2 Fnatic and FlyQuest like TL, and the winner goes to the grand finals.
Nope, don't care.
I was like, man. Like these teams are like, man, I'm like so like obviously C9 they're my boys. They're my boys in blue. Like we bleed blue forever, my guys. We bleed light blue. But and then just Schalke and Mad, the trajectory of these teams, it's so fucking unfortunate. Now, I mean that is like an old C9 saying is we bleed light blue, but yeah, I think it was mostly back when we had like the blue and white color scheme.
Gotcha.
But which we're kind of going back to. It's kind of odd, but anyway,
right.
It's kind of sad that like we could legitimately have like C9s, like we could have C9s run end and we're guaranteed to lose Mad and Schalke, like or one of them, not both of them obviously, but one of them's definitely gone.
I just realized we're on.
But at least with the Mad and Schalke series, one of them is guaranteed to go on. But they're at least guaranteed to go to Worlds.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just realized something really dumb. We were on Play of the Week the whole time instead of the Global League podcast, like little screen. I'm a smart person.
Hey, that's all right.
That's all right. That's not a reset on podcast. That's not Mike's been muted for 2 hours. You got to go do the podcast again.
That was on. That would have been unfortunate. I did check and make sure.
I would literally go to bed at that point. We would be just doing a speedrun podcast.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah. All right.
C9 sucks. EG sucks more. Moving on. But not. Yeah, I will
G2 versus Fnatic. If you want to.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say like just one last point on that. As much as I obviously would hate to see TSM beat C9 and be the ones to go to Worlds, denying C9 their first basically being the ones that caused C9 to miss Worlds for the first time in org history. But I do at least see the meme of TSM versus Rogue at Worlds in that case. But then in that case, it's still like the darkest timeline because who the fuck wants to see this TSM and this Rogue at Worlds?
That's fair.
Like anyone who's cheering for this for the memes, like you're actually just dumb because these teams are just bad. Not to say that C9 would be any better if they lost at this TSM, but come on, dude.
All right, sorry, I was messaging someone.
Yeah,
but
anyway,
all right.
Anyway, moving on to the not match of the week for Europe.
G2 versus Fnatic. The old kings are back. No, honestly,
old kings, the new kings, same as the old kings.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest here with my prediction right away. Here, it's gonna be a 3-0 G2. I just feel it. I just feel like we're in the worst timeline.
It's 3-0 G2.
I agree
for me as well.
Okay.
I have nothing to. I mean, I'll go over what Raptor says here as well. You said G2 Fnatic. If funny enough, if G2 murders Fnatic, then Fnatic is still trash tier. If they make it competitive, somehow they gain my respect, but just off solo lane diff, I'd expect a 3-0 slap. They also can't just beeline for champ matchups in draft because G2 is the team that plays in. Hecarim, Eve, Prio is one thing that I will look out for, however, in this jungler matchup. Again, that's definitely fair. I say that's without question fair. Also one thing I actually forgot though in the G2 Mad Lions series, the one game that G2 lost to Mad Lions, Ezreal Yumi.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I thought you were going to say
Ezreal
Jankos
Yumi series. The fuck, even G2 can't make the combo work. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, I'm
Nah.
I need this extra series. Like Fnatic could, they looked much better. To be fair, they looked much better. I need another series of that. I need them to even look remotely competitive against this G2 team. If they get stomped like they have been constantly against G2 all the time, like they always get stomped at G2 lately. And if that happens and Fnatic just looks like pure garbage again, that just makes me even less confident in Rogue and Fnatic. So it's EU's gonna be sending some weak teams to Worlds at this point, and all
Hey, I'll say one thing though. I'll say one thing though. Bright side to that, if G2 stomps Fnatic into the dirt, that means we're guaranteed to at least get a contender from Mad and Schalke, because Mad played G2 pretty well, and if Mad and Schalke come out and they go at it with each other, that means, yes, we at least get 2 good teams.
Yeah, that is 2 strong
better than
teams
NA, where we'll probably get 0 good teams.
Yeah, let's be fair.
That's 2 more than North America. That's it's not even double. That's actually infinitely more, because anything times 0 is 0.
You're right. The issue is I'm just like, for World groups, like, you really gotta hope that like limiting, like going from 4 good seeds is what we thought Europe was going to bring, with Rogue being decent enough to take it on Fnatic, and then if we got Mad and Schalke and G2, we're looking at 4 really strong teams coming into Worlds. With Rogue actually being the weakest, even if they beat Fnatic, I would consider them the weakest of that 4. But
I mean, consider they lost to Fnatic 3-0.
It
definitely
confirmed.
The weakest.
Well, it confirmed it. I'm saying even before.
Yeah.
If they would have beat Fnatic, I would have still said they were the weakest.
You're still the weakest.
But
you still suck.
But damn, like it's kind of crazy that could make an opening for another team, but at the same time, it's just gonna be punished by LPL and probably the LCK teams. Well, at least because we're falling off on the 3 LCK teams. We had a solid 3 LCK teams for a while. Not so much anymore. I'd say it's a solid 2 at this point. But
I know it's like 2.5.
It's 2. Yeah.
Okay.
There's one that's rising. All right.
Yeah.
But
we'll get to that.
Mad versus SO4. I'm assuming, or Mad and SO4 versus Rogue. Loser, I'm assuming.
Yeah, which basically I basically agree that whoever wins that series beats Rogue.
Yep, I agree. I think that SO4 would come in and probably 3-0 Rogue with the aggression. Both of them probably 3-0 in playoffs.
Especially if Rogue is playing like that, like they did against Fnatic. Holy shit.
I'm gonna put SO4 3-0.
You know, Matt especially is gonna look for fucking revenge.
Yeah,
exactly. Gonna be like, these motherfuckers took our first seed.
Are you thinking 3-0?
And they made us beat Schalke. I'm definitely 3-0.
Nice.
I don't see a world where Rogue takes. Like, they maybe take a game if they troll it really hard, but that's about it.
And then we're gonna have a team go to Worlds win 0-6 in playoffs.
Holy shit! It's 100 Thieves all over again.
It is. It really is.
The final form of 100 Thieves, literally losing every playoff game except one. Rogue. By the way, Rogue versus question mark from Raptor. Not sure what to think about this team since they just collapsed on stage. I think they'll be our 4th seed. They could still make the series close, and I'm hoping for it just to see some life from the confirmed Worlds team. But I don't expect them to advance further in playoffs, and playing experience may help them. Or, hear me out, they go to play-ins
and they get unicorns
and they lose again. They make playoffs in play-ins, and then they lose another playoff series.
Not unicorns of love. They lose to 5 Ronin and Husky Riders there.
Husky Rider, dude. If only Nova was here. Man.
That's a hit for the Wildcard podcast. Portion of podcast coming up.
I hope fourth gets China fourth and NA third gets Korea third. Oh my god. That dude, could you imagine the amount of backflips that would have to take in the group stage
Yeah,
for that to
I'm
happen?
literally doing the mental
That
math on
literally means
it.
that they would that would have to involve like
Two of them
freaking
would have to go to
NA,
second.
like EU, like it would be like Rogue and
It's not
whoever's
going to be
the
China.
third seed. Like
Let's be
it would be like
honest.
it would be like yeah, it would be like TSM or FlyQuest going into like getting second in group stage, and then Rogue also getting second in group stage, and then the third seed from Korea and the fourth seed from the LPL getting first in the group as what I guess what we would expect them to,
And then,
and then they
getting
get paired up against each other.
the ball roll thing, and then they both pick the other one. Oh man, it would be so difficult to line up.
Yeah,
Oh,
it could happen though.
it could.
It could happen.
I doubt it.
You're literally saying like
If it happens,
here's all the major teams in the play-in
Cool.
stage.
We'll
Good luck.
give Raptor a cookie if it happens. He called it here today.
The LMS and the freaking Vietnam aren't considered freaking major regions for the play-in stage anymore, dude. Like holy shit, you actually have a Korean, North American, Chinese, and European team in the play-in stage
Yeah,
as ringers in each group.
kind of crazy. All right, let's move on to the LPL, which, funny enough, predictions might take a little bit. I don't think there's much to talk about personally when it comes to
It's really
playoffs.
not. It was probably the most cut and dry playoffs we had. Like and I believe they mentioned this elsewhere, but like it's literally a matter of
No problem.
teams that were higher seed beat the teams that were lower seed,
And
except for one instance.
yes.
Well, I mean that was the beginning of playoffs, I should say.
Yes. So actually, we thought V5 looked very good. IG completely dropped the ball, whatever. But LGD was looking fantastic. They were looking on form, world contender form level of play. And Suning comes in. They beat V5, who looked really good against FPX. And then Suning got demolished to Top Esports. And LGD, they took a game. It wasn't as big of a demolish, but it never really is with JDG, is it? But they never fail to lose. Like at this point, it feels like. And
they never fail to draft Ornn top lane.
Yeah.
And just team fight their way to win.
the best team fighting team in the world, man. It's unbelievable.
By the way, y'all fucking joke on me in this shit. Talk about like Zoom and stuff. Like Zoom's a great top laner, but this team, they play Ornn so goddamn much.
They do. They play.
This dude has been nerfed so many goddamn times, and Zoom is still playing.
Yeah,
him.
because it's like
And
a perfect team.
he will never stop.
It's because it's a perfect team fighting champ, and they are the best team fighting team in the entire world by a decent
Also,
margin.
Yeah. By the way, I will just say this as well. LGD also played Azure Yumi. Couldn't make it work either. They even had Olaf,
Yeah.
but they still couldn't make it work.
That was with Lamau also throwing a 5-man Bard ultimate, but it only hit 3 of them because as our Olaf ulted it and Yumi was on Olaf, but it was basically a 5-man Bard ultimate that like basically. And it didn't matter actually because Loken with the was it Loken on Lucian? I don't remember, but it was just popping off with the with the ult. So his ult didn't end because he just hit Olaf because it's the only target now. Oh man, it was bad. But no, the scary thing is LGD and Suning, very good teams. Like better than pretty much every team the West has to offer. Maybe G2. That's like G2 level. If you don't watch LPL, Suning and LGD at the LGD more so in my opinion, basically G2 level. The fact that they just got completely and utterly demolished to these two teams scares the shit out of me.
To be fair, I'll say this: those are the more and more I think about it, the more I'm like, wow, these are terrible matchups for Suning and LGD. And ironically, LGD was a great matchup for Suning. And I even mentioned this because we did have to kind of, because we did we did the podcast today instead of our Sunday, we did have to do our quick predictions on the third place match that took place earlier today. Actually,
I put a little asterisk, picked off podcast. To be fair, this series didn't matter that much. It mattered a tiny bit.
Oh yeah,
But
it's Yeah, I guess we'll get into that when we get into predictions a
Yeah.
little bit later. But
It essentially, what it came down to, it was a best of 5 to pick side selection because it was a third place match, but they were both
Yep.
already sealed into third and fourth in the gauntlet, or first and second,
for
I
the
should say.
for the region, the regional qualifier starts as well this week. The LPL will actually be completely finished
First major
as
region
of this
to end.
week. Yep.
And
they'll be finished with their with the grand final of JDG versus Top Esports, the rematch from spring, and then they'll start the their regional qualifier to determine their third and fourth seed.
and
They'll,
this is a very niche funny thing about the regional qualifier. Suning and LGD start on the winner side of it, actually. So there is a hypothetical scenario here that Suning 3-0'd LGD already. That's not hypothetical, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Suning 3-0's them earlier or later this week. So within like 5 days or whatever this is going to be.
within the same week, they literally 3-0 LGD twice.
And then they 2-0 them at the beginning and get reverse swept, so they go on an 8-game win streak against LGD and don't make Worlds because LGD wins 3 at the end. Because there is high potential these teams face each other 3 times in 3 best of 5s in the same week. Oh man, it's rough.
It's incredibly possible.
I was even actually messaging Nikki. I was like, "Hey man, like this literally, they could potentially play 15 games against each other in a week. Like that's almost as much as an NA or EU season."
I think the way it works though, if they play each other now, they dropped a loser. I think it's only 3 matches, isn't it?
Oh, is it best of 3?
Where it's literally it. No, I mean it's like it's a best of 5 series.
Yes.
It's going to be Suning versus LGD, and the winner goes to Worlds.
Yes.
The
So
winner goes to Worlds, the 3rd seed, and then whoever loses that match,
I misinterpreted.
plays the winner. Plays the winner of IG versus Fun Plus Phoenix.
Gotcha. I misinterpreted.
The IG Fun Plus Phoenix match is another elimination match.
All right, they can't play 3.
One of those teams.
Play 3.
One of those teams will be eliminated, and the winner plays the winner of plays the loser of Suning versus LGD for the last world spot. So IG and Fun Plus Phoenix, the 2 reigning world champions for the past 2 years, could both miss Worlds.
Yep. And I had misspoken. I had thought the gauntlet was only 1 seed in my head. I thought that for some reason in my head I was thinking 3 people go to Worlds, but that doesn't make sense with the positioning.
It's the old gauntlet style.
Yeah. And but yeah, so Suning and LGD, winner of their first game coming up, we'll talk about that in predictions, will automatically qualify for Worlds. Loser has 1 more chance, basically.
Yep. It's a pseudo double elimination,
but
a 4-man bracket.
Yeah, I mean, this game, there's not much to talk about with Suning and LGD. It was an ent game at that. It was fun. Yeah. It was exciting. Yeah. But it wasn't.
It kind of revealed the discrepancy in style.
Yeah.
Where it feels more and more like LGD is like kind of like a slightly weaker version of Victory 5, and we've seen both in regular season and in playoffs that Suning just has Victory 5's number in terms of style difference.
True. I'm wondering, well, from a competition standpoint, LGD can strike back though with not necessarily playing or maybe hiding stuff. I thought both teams were possibly hiding stuff this game because they're like, if you're gonna play best of 5 for like 3 days from now, why show a team anything about the best of 5 that doesn't actually matter outside of side selection? Which could be big. If you really need blue side, that could be big because blue side is really good right now. But I don't know. We'll see. See.
It's possible. I mean, especially in LPL, side selection can be pretty big for these teams.
That's true.
They're one of the best regions at utilizing counter pick on red side.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And first picking Renekton on blue side.
Oh man, it's insane. Hey, 500,000 UN. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I was like, Suning made bank. I don't actually know what that is. That's $71,000. That's pretty good, I guess. For a team, maybe not that much, but pretty decent. I would take it.
I don't know. I don't know if it's an exact 1-to-1 ratio. I don't know if it's exact 1-to-1 exchange rate with the US dollar, but
it's good
Still,
enough.
it's money.
It's money. It's money. It's funny how like league is like all not about money necessarily for team like prize pools. You get the money through like the viewership and stuff like that.
Yeah, sponsor. Yeah, you get like It's all about the sponsor deals. It's all about the stream.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But at the end of the day, they're competitors, man.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Let's talk. I guess this is a quick LPL, but that's okay because I do, and Damon has work. I have work. Do you have work tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah, we all have work tomorrow, so that's okay.
We're all productive assholes.
It wasn't. It wasn't a great. I mean, it was. If you want to be scared shitless, if you're an NA fan, you should already be scared shitless, regardless of this. If you're,
first of all, you should. You should already. But in case you weren't,
in case you weren't, if you're an EU fan, if you're a Korea fan, outside of maybe Damwon, this is terrifying. This was this.
Here's a reason to be afraid.
Like this was it was almost a wake up call even for us who I adore the LPL. You guys know that. I love the LPL way too much. Big fanboy.
We know a particular team in the LPL that you really love.
Shut up. Top. We're looking shaky before. That's cleared up right away. Yep. By the way, that's a thing of the past.
Fixed. Yeah. Remember we were talking about teams like the Mad Lions and Dragon X and C9 and Top Esports. All were like just smashing kids early on, and then they just fell off. They kind of start stumbling a bit. Yeah. Some more than others. Well, here it was like, spoilers for LCK. Dragon X still didn't really get it together. C9's kind of just trying to get themselves back together. Man, Mad Lions, they look better. And Top Esports, fuck.
They look better than what they did before.
They actually...
how'd that happen? They're the best team in the world. How'd they get better?
Somehow. Life finds the way, my guy.
Yeah. And then JDG, same thing. Like, they were consistent. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they're still consistent.
Okay. And now LPL champions.
Yeah.
LPL champion form again. Oh, by the way, we were the champions in spring.
Yeah,
and we had the MVP jungler, who's basically like better Blabber in Kanavi. This Top Esports actually siphoned the teams. That's probably true.
God, yeah, they were just pretending to be weak with you guys, but they were just absorbing all of you instead.
Yeah, Jesus, absorbing the power. It's like Abadage. Absorbed all the power from Humanoid, so he can be better now.
Oh, all right. So, and before we make predictions, congratulations. We finally have Knight at Worlds. I already have my number one player for my Worlds Top 20.
Knight,
it's already done.
Not just Knight. Yeah, that was funny because I think they actually made a mention that was like, oh man. For like the longest time, Knight had never made Worlds. It was always a big shame. And then like as soon as Knight made Worlds, it was like a period of like 12 hours, and everyone was like, "Oh man, Zoom is the best player to never make Worlds." And then they made Worlds.
Oh yeah.
A 12-hour turnover. Knight's been waiting for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Zoom is like, "I've been waiting for 12 hours." And I made it.
I was literally like, I was talking shit with them. I was like, my World's Top 20 is already almost filled out. like Top, JDG, G2, all these teams that have sealed Worlds. I'm like, we're running out of spots on the team. Assuming Damwon makes it too, we're running out of spots for other people. It's gonna be a very interesting list. It's gonna be tough. We might have to make a World's Top 40 at this point. We got to find one way to put NA players in there.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We almost have to I feel like we could almost do like a bracket thing. Bracket thing might be kind of fun.
Oh, for like, what do you mean for that? For players?
Obviously we'll do like predictions and stuff for like group stage and stuff, but then I'll just like throw up a quick bracket. See how we do. And once we know the allotment of teams, and then just seeing how we do once Worlds is over. We'll still do predictions on the individual matches.
Yeah,
but just see how our bracket pans out.
That's cool. I like that idea. I also like Raptor. I gotta find a way to fit.
Gotta fit in Brox and Lee Sin. It's like Brox. He's not even in the top 40, but man, his Lee Sin's easily top 5.
I think he probably is definitely.
Brox and Lee Sin top 5.
He's probably not in the top 40. Let's be honest. He's probably not there.
Brox and Lee Sin? Nah, dude, he's unstoppable.
Undefeated.
Yeah, he's number 1.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, fine. No, we'll give him number 2 and put your boy Jackie at number 1.
Thank you. My boy Jackie's not getting number 1 this year. I can confirm you that already. It's
All right,
gonna
fine,
be
he's
Knight.
number 3.
I'm sorry.
All right, fine. It's number 3. It's Knight is number 1, Zoom is number 2, and Jackie's number 3. And we always had number 0 as PP God.
Yeah, and that's honestly not a terrible list. I mean, you got to put Lamau back in there as well. You got to. God, this team's fucking stacked, man. Just, if 369 pops off and stays even with Zoom,
Yeah,
then
I feel like that's the issue though. It's like a top esports. Like you have like a player like Karsha and 369 are like maybe the only players that don't make top 10 on the team.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were gonna say top 20. I'm like, they're definitely...
For JDG, it has to be Kanavi, it has to be Lamau, and it has to be Zoom.
And Loken and Yagao aren't that bad either. But yeah, that's like the top 10
like Carson 369 aren't that bad. Yeah. They're not that bad either, but I wouldn't say they're like the top 10 in the world of all players.
Yeah, that's the issue. You have half the top 10 off 2 teams. We're not counting
Here comes Yuyanja, motherfucker. We're bringing him in.
Yuyanja's 10th out of those 2, by
the way. Number 1, Angel. Number 2, SOFM.
My boy
Number
Sword
3, Bin. Number 4, Big Koro. Number 5, Husky Rider.
Dude, I hope for the memes. Who was I gonna say though?
Number 6, Pancake.
So we have 5
number 7, tie for number 6, Cupcake.
We have 5 hypotheticals, by the way, in the top 10. We haven't added Damwon,
yes,
by the way, with Showmaker, Canyon, like Nogri.
Isn't it kind of funny that Nugri is probably one of the least likely to make top 10 on his team?
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like him and Ghost are like right there. Like Canyon and Showmaker are like big names, and Barrel's been playing well.
Like Caps on G2, like there's not enough room.
yeah. Don't worry. Well, we'll get to that. We do still have LPL predictions to get to now. There wasn't really much to talk about. It was very cut and dry in the LPL this week.
Let's talk. Yeah, LPL. Let's make our predictions. All right, we got Top Esports versus JDG.
Is this match of the week?
This is yeah.
Of all the games going on, is this match of the week?
In importance, no. In skill level, yes.
There you go. Okay. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Ooh, Raptor. We might have to swap the narrative. Turns out Raptor loves JDG.
Yeah, Raptor's the big JDG fan.
No.
He's
mad at Top Esports because they beat Suning.
Apparently. From what I saw against Suning, they look completely back into it. Now, JDG is nothing like the team that top 2-0'd in the regular season at the beginning of the year. Nothing like that team anymore.
They're nothing like the team that shit the bed at MSC.
Yeah, nothing like that either.
Maybe a little bit like that, but not the best.
I gotta give it to Top.
That's like saying Damwon is the same team that shit the bed.
I mean, how do we explain? How do you predict this? It's like both these teams are God S+++ level of gameplay right now. It's gonna be a 3-2 probably. I'm assuming again, but
here's what I'll say right now. Do you think that Top Esports can out execute JDG in full 5v5 team fights?
No, they can't.
Do you think Top Esports can snowball on JDG early enough to make it so that the 5v5s are in their favor?
Yes, I think Knight can do that against Yagao.
Do you think that that's enough to take 3 games for JDG?
It's so hard. It's so difficult. It's like we said, it literally is against any other team. This team 3-0 is pretty much in the world.
Yeah, because here's what I'll say. Since you're deciding, since you're so torn between your love for your boys,
I mean, I got my prediction
and Jackie Love, and your love for JDG.
Don't forget.
I'll say it. It's gonna be 3-1 Top Esports.
3-1. Oh, you're not even going for a 5er gamer.
No, I was almost considering doing a 3-0, but I'll give him.
I just think,
I think bot and mid difference is just gonna be too much.
Mhm.
I think
For
Konami
JDG or
has
the
had some
world?
issues.
For...
Well, yes. Yes. But I think that 369 is fine enough, especially into how Zoom can play the game. I think he's not going to run it down as much as Longsha did into Zoom when they played, and even then, LGD still got a win versus them. If JDG can get a win versus freaking LGD can get a win against JDG, Top Esports can get 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, like you mentioned there,
Yep.
top win, so we get deciding best of 5 when this is inevitably
Yeah.
World Finals.
Yeah, that's actually really, that'd be really cool.
That
That'd be an awesome narrative. It'd be the first time we would have a Chinese versus Chinese World Final,
yeah,
and it would be a rubber match between the two
the thing is-
LPL splits.
the thing is,
That'd be
Damwon
pretty sick.
has to play at the level they're playing, all against a team that they probably never played against a team at that level. G2 would have to play at their greatest level of all time that they have ever played before.
Like literally
Every one of their
better
players.
than better than they've ever played at ×2.
Yeah,
Because their play was not good enough. When they're a better playing team the last year against teams that are worse than the teams going into the LPL now.
yeah. There is no shot in hell for any NA team at this point. There is no shot for any other EU team unless the Miracle Run is still going on.
Schalke finals.
At that point, if they're still undefeated, like hell, no one can stop them.
Good lord, the Miracle Run goes all the way to World Finals. That'd be actually insane.
I can't see
Number
Team
1 seed
1.
from Europe, Schalke.
I can't see DRX. Gen G, probably not. We gotta see the best of 5 Gen G still.
Yeah.
like
That. To be fair, that's not a thing to look forward to if you're a Gen G fan.
Yeah, and LGD and Suning, we just saw what happened to them. So
yeah,
it's up to G2 and Damwon to stop us from this.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing I'll posit as well, specifically for this series to get back on track with this, is spring finals went to 5 games, and the Top Esports nearly won then.
Mm-hmm.
JDG is just now finding their spring form now.
And Top's way
Their
better.
spring form, and Top is way better.
Mhm.
Top is both better, and they're, like we said, they're better than they were when they 2-0'd JDG earlier in the split. I'm giving JDG the benefit of the doubt because they're better than they were at the beginning of the split at MSC, so I could give them 1 win. But Top Esports, if they're playing on form like this, they are not the team that barely lost to JDG in spring. They're just better.
Yeah, it's
Could I swayed you?
I mean,
Can I pull you
got-
away from your fan? Can I pull you away from your Gremlin dog fandom?
I picked Top at the beginning. I have it on top 3-2 the whole time. I just want to see a best of
No,
5.
I don't believe you. I think you're just ready.
No.
You're ready to just
No.
double click and type in JDG. Junkie Dumpster Goblins.
Oh man. Okay. Let's move on to the gauntlet. 3 games in the gauntlet.
You want to just? That's like you just want to give the you want to just give like your overall predictions for how the gauntlet is going to go.
Yeah. Well,
Do like a gauntlet bracket prediction.
Yeah. Something versus LGD, FBX versus IG, and then question mark versus question mark. Okay, so predictive, I guess. Tell me your 2 teams going to Worlds, and I will fill in your predictions. Tell me your 4th seed. No, tell me your 3rd seed. 3rd seed, because
my 3rd seed, Suning.
Okay, mine's LGD. I think they come back from it.
I think Suning is just going to V5 LGD.
All right.
I think the play style is not a good matchup for how they like to play.
That's
and
fair.
LGD won't be able to snowball on Suning. V5 couldn't do it against Sunny.
That's fair. That is
LGD
fair.
won't do it against
But
Sunny.
LGDs look damn good. I'm hoping. I think I saw a comment that the coaches told LGD to get all the pent up ent out that you haven't been doing in the playoffs. Get it out in this third place match and get back to the grind in regionals.
What about all the pent up that was in the JDG series?
Well, you know.
How do they still have that much?
Oh man, sorry. I'm also setting up lunch at the same time right now before someone goes to bed. So I'm setting up my lunch. So,
Multitasking.
But now we have. All right. So I don't want to know your winner between IG and FunPlus Phoenix. I just have. I just want to be curious. Before I find that out, 4th seed qualifier.
My 4th seed qualifier.
Mm-hmm. Silence.
Invictus Gaming.
Fuck. I wanted to be spicy, right? I gave you all the spice.
You can't outspice me, Will. Dude, remember, we copy each other's homework all the time.
We do.
You can't be spicy.
Hey,
Raptor, I see what you said. We just doomed IG. Hey, Raptor, good. I don't want him to go, but I'll doom him. I don't give a shit. Either I'll be right or they don't go to Worlds and we get some new teams.
Oh my god. So I believe in Invictus way too much. Huge fanboy since Jackie Love the Shy. Brought my favorite style of League of Legends I've ever seen. Opened my eyes to the world. And
yeah, let's just ignore Damwon, I guess.
Well, that Damwon is followed it.
Your secret tryst.
They clearly opened up Damwon's eyes. But what I want to say is, Rookie's playing out of his mind. Almost probably one of the best players in the LPL at like Knight's level at this point right now. Unfortunately, he's having the Knight syndrome that Knight usually has. He's taking it.
Knight stole his power.
Yeah.
Instead of stealing Rookie's power, he stole his team's power.
I think.
Hey man.
I don't trust FunPlus.
Raptor, dude. I had to mention team. I had to get my prediction. Had to get my prediction in, man.
Don't start mentioning. I've talked. I don't know if I talked about you rap down here. I've talked about it all the time. When I move out,
Will needs no like push to start fangirling over his LPL team.
Literally, I want a wall.
He doesn't need any of that help.
I want a wall, but it's very expensive, so the podcast has to get big so I can get shout out. Yeah, I want a wall of hats of every team in every region, including minor regions. Unfortunately, if you take an average hat price and times it by the amount of teams, it's over $4,000. I don't have that kind of money. Yeah. But if we get
that's
big,
why we just need to get we just need to get you like one of those big mannequin dummies that for display cases, and we're just gonna get you like a JDG hat and a JDG jersey.
I'd wear it.
Get you some jersey, and get you some get you like a JDG jacket, and some custom JDG pants, and just put them all on the dummy.
I'm not getting all
that will
JDG.
be your display. No, that's it. That's fine. That's all.
Okay, I should be good at that, by the way, as well.
So
that's getting some chilies for lunch. Oh, boys, okay. Yeah. So all right, that's it. So FunPlus Phoenix, we don't think are beating IG, and I think IG's taking down Suning. You think IG's taking down LGD?
Yes.
I
can't believe that you're the one that picks Suning to not go to Worlds, and I do.
Listen, man, I want to see if I'm getting LPL teams to come to Worlds. I want the spicy ones, okay? You know. Suning,
well, I don't care, dude. I'm just banking on the LPL to make me sad again, and send freaking Invictus Gaming, get freaking Invictus Gaming and Suning of all teams to go to Worlds.
Raptors converted you. Hell yeah. Wow. Thanks, Michelle. Speaking of the person I was setting up lunch for, by the way.
Hi, Michelle. I
Just
don't
call
know
me
who
a
you
nerd.
are, but hi.
Just call me a nerd like that. That's kind of rude. Anyway.
I mean, is it wrong though?
I mean, we only talk about League for 4 to 6 hours straight. You know, that's a normal thing that normal people can do.
Nope. Being normal's overrated anyway. Who gives a shit?
All right. Let's talk about Korea because we're not in playoffs for Korea. We can well, we are as of 3 hours from now.
Yes.
But we're not in playoffs yet for Korea.
Yes.
And my streak ended I got to 40, okay? I got to a 40-game win streak in Korea. The highest win streak I've ever had, and it will never be broken ever again. It's one of those baseball records that are like absurd, like the 56-game hitting streak type thing. I'm never going to break this streak in my life. So I'm happy. Hanwha Life bookended the top of it, losing to Prince and beating Dynamics. So it's all Hanwha Life's fault. I'm very upset about that.
No, see, it's not Hanwha Life's fault, dude.
Oh no, they beat Prince.
It's Dynamics' fault.
Yeah.
Now you understand.
Yeah.
This team is screwed over my freaking pick rate in Korea so many times.
Yeah. Speaking of that, our final prediction rate, the best we've ever had it. I had a streak, but Ryan was only dropping a game or two thanks to Dynamics. But I finished 76-14 at an 84.44%. I missed 85% because of freaking Hanwha Life. And honestly, 3 or 4 of my losses are Hanwha Life this year, by the way. So they're actually a majority.
We believed in them too much early, and then we didn't believe in them at the end.
Yeah, and you also finished fantastic at 73-17, also an 81% win rate. So, Korea pretty easy, and
hey, 8 plus 1 is 9.
Yeah,
I'm a C9 fan. It works out. Hey, coincidence.
Hey, it was a
coincidence.
40-game win streak, Raptor, not 39. It hit 40. Okay.
It hit 40. It was almost a 41 game win
almost
streak.
a 41.
Hanwha ruined that. But to be fair, thank you, Hanwha. A 40-game win streak just sounds a lot cleaner.
It does. So I'm not terribly upset about it. I would have loved 45 because I could have said half the split, but we take those. Anyway, we got Damwon 2-0ing T1 exactly how we predicted it because Damwon is unbeatable in Korea. We got Afrika 2-1ing KT because that was a scary as hell series for my streak. I thought I was going to lose that.
Somehow. What the fuck?
Well, KT was fighting for the playoffs, so it was kind of a toss-up. It made sense at that point. And then I lucked out with Sandbox and Dynamics both beating Hanwha and Prince 2-0. Those games were completely meaningless for both teams. I did not know what was going to happen in those games. Luckily, they were both 2-0s like everything in Korea, so nothing changes. They didn't have any fun in Korea, by the way, for those games. Those were very standard games for the most part.
Yeah. No spice.
Yeah, no spice. Gen.G 2-0 to Afrika, which it didn't matter at that point because Afrika had already sealed 5th place.
Who cares?
Damwon had 2-0 to KT. Also didn't matter because KT already was eliminated. Damwon it mattered for because they had to go ahead and beat DRX. At the time, they didn't know if DRX was going to win or not. With Damwon winning, that made DRX's game against T1 irrelevant. They still gave a game to T1, and T1, they actually won the one game with Faker. Not actually, they didn't win any other one. They just won the game against Faker.
You mean they lost the game with Faker?
Well, DRX won is what I meant. But
that's what I was like. It's like, they brought in Faker and they won with Faker.
Sorry, yeah, I should have explained it better. Closer actually got MVP both times. For the guy's a 17-year-old. He's actually really good.
Rightfully so. The dude was a Smurf.
Yeah, he was so good. He was crushing Chovy. Like
I saw people were upset they subbed Faker out of the game. Where it's like, oh man, well Faker he didn't really do anything wrong. The team didn't lose because of him. So why are you subbing out? It's like, well, this is why you're subbing him out because this dude's a beast.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where I'm like, does Closer start at Worlds for T1 if they make it? Like, or in playoffs, we should say before so. And I'm thinking the answer is yes, unless they go down like 0-2, then you probably bring in Faker for the rest of like you bring in Faker for elimination.
Faker is now the Bengi of his team.
It's very weird. It's kind of crazy that we're probably seeing an end of an era with Faker,
Hey,
I
man.
think, if Closer
your-
just keeps this up.
That's your rank 1 in Korean solo cube
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
And immediately translating it to results.
Dude's almost a decade younger than me, too. And then...
He's over a decade younger than me. What are you kidding?
Yeah, Homo Life beats Dynamics to ruin my streak. Anyway, let's go over
Continue
power...
to make our lives hell.
Let's
Fucking
go over
dynamics.
power ranking, but let's just speed run this, okay?
Oh yeah,
it should be-
because I'll say right now, there's probably nothing spicy between our final end of split power rankings in Korea.
I'm actually curious. We might have a little bit of a difference, but not too much. Worst team,
Yeah, probably.
Prince.
Prince.
Yep, SB looked terrible all year. Won the very first series of the year. Did not win a single one after that. Actually, won the very
Yep.
first series of all of Korea. That was the first game.
I'd say I almost gave them a nod just because they took a freaking game off. They almost beat DRX.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
That was literally it.
yep, that was like their highlight of the year was beating Homo Life in week 1 and then taking a game off DRX. Everything
And
else
almost
garbage.
2 games.
Mickey,
Like a game and a half off of
trash.
DRX.
Mickey is garbage. I knew it. I told you guys.
And he was out.
He's out. The fact that he got kicked out
Good.
of one of the worst teams in the league.
Hilarious. And
God.
and then the team immediately looked better. Who would have thought?
They did. Wow, shocking. Hated that guy since he randomly. That's so disrespectful and weird to literally get up from a scrim game, quit, and go on a plane to Korea. Just leave the country. I lost
God
all
damn.
respect for him when he did that, and I've never liked him
God.
since.
Poor Golden Guardians.
Yeah, those was the rough ages. All right, number 9.
God, man.
Homo Life. Surprise to no one.
I have dynamics.
Oh, you have Dynamic. You just hate them. You just hate them.
No, they deserve to be here. They lost to Hanwha Life.
They did, but they did good
They,
enough.
they've looked like shit, dude.
They
had
have,
one game against.
but they
They
won
lost like
5.
they had. I don't care.
they won
suck.
double the
They're
games.
actually terrible.
They won
Freaking
double
they have
the
a top
games.
laner that can- They
Homo
have a
Life
top laner that can play. Top laner that can literally play one champion.
did. Hey, that's all you need apparently. JDG on
Apparently
Zoom.
not, because then they don't even pick him the champion.
Yeah, well, whose fault is that at that point? They still won double the games Homo Life did. They won 16 at least. Homo Life won
Yeah,
8.
but you know what? One of the games they did win
Homo Life.
versus Hanwha Life.
You're just salty.
So
They-
guess what?
they screwed you.
You're down.
You're salty.
Go down to the bottom. This is where you've been. I'll say right now, the freaking I would say like 8 to 10. I really don't care.
Yeah, I got Dynamic.
These teams are all probably like an equal level of garbage.
I'm literally
Like, it's one of the
arguing
things where I
with
said,
you.
like I said, I literally almost gave Prince the nod just because they actually almost beat DRX. And whether that was DRX just playing like shit or not, doesn't matter, because at least they almost beat a team that was quality.
Yeah.
Dynamics beating T1 was literally just T1 playing like literally in the middle of their slump where they played like absolute shit. They're bottom of the barrel. Then they started climbing back up, and they brought Closer in, and the team looked like a completely different team.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair. Well, you have home
And of
by
course,
8. I'm already gonna
Yeah,
predict.
and
I
then
already know.
Hanwha Life is my number 8. Yeah, by the way, spoiler. Hanwha
Yeah.
Life is my number 8.
We're arguing over
All
8th
of
and
them are
9th.
interchangeable. Who cares? All of them are interchangeable. Who cares?
Hanwha
That's
Life-
basically what I can say pretty much. From place number 5 all the way down to the rest of the list.
Moved
Who
up.
cares?
Sandbox is your number 7?
Yes.
Wow. It's almost like we had this region on lock for a long time now.
Yep.
Oh,
It's like in the beginning, pre-split, I had them 6. Mid-split, I had them 8. Now I have them 7.
They're moving up.
Literally the same.
Yeah, my bottom 4 did not change at all from mid split to now. I didn't lose a game during that because I was pretty much right. Didn't pick any upsets. Number 6, KT. Wow.
KT.
Yeah, shocking.
Wow. Who would have thought? It's almost like these are starting to line up with the actual rankings. Actual,
It's almost like
final
there
standings.
was almost like less than 5 upsets all year in Korea.
It's almost like this region is actually shit.
If they have
Like you could talk,
the
you could
very
talk about
top
the
heavy.
region being consistency and blah 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 and all it's like turnover. You don't see upsets and like no, dude, your region is just fucking trash, dude. You have a bunch of freaking buff freaking varsity sports players beating up on toddlers.
Yeah.
Surprise! The toddlers are probably not going to win.
Ryan has spoken the truth and they hated him for it.
I spoke the truth in freaking spring.
Yeah, you did. we
Listen,
have
guys.
been, we've been talking about this for a while now.